Panicked Dilly's just wanted a normal human life. She finally escaped the snake nest, hoping to find another race to settle down with. But Dilly's was very flat in human form, so all beastmen mocked her as a weak male. But when they learned she was the only sacred female who could transform, the males went completely crazy for her. A jealous mate at home. A possessive alpha outside. It seriously messed with her daily life. A clingy, lovesick little blue octopus. A white tiger stressing over keeping the males in the family peaceful. A devilfish who's always scheming to win her over. Right after escaping the snake nest, Dilly's shifted back into her snake form. She stuffed the tank top and shorts she wore as a human, along with the leftover shed skin, into her reverse scale and kept going. Before long, she spotted signs of many beastmen. She could even faintly hear beasts roaring. Dilly's got excited. She shot herself toward the source of the sound. At the front of the group, a white tiger let out a loud roar. A snake beast has invaded orc territory. Protect the females, retreat. Then the white tiger shifted into human form. Short silver white hair, but bronze skin. His muscles were incredibly solid. Dilly's didn't slow down. The scent of beastmen grew stronger. Dilly's got happier and happier. They must have spotted her and were coming to welcome her happily. But beastmen are territorial. When she meets the others, she'll have to apologize properly and show she really wants to join them. The ground began to shake. A massive dark shadow charged fiercely toward Dilly's, getting closer and closer. Dilly's happily flicked her tongue out. Just as she was about to shift and speak, the white tiger at the front of the pack lunged at her. It opened its huge jaws and tried to bite her. It was a blue striped beast. Dilly's, a green striped beast, was 2 whole levels below him. There was no way she could win. Dilly's lowered herself, ready to show submission. But the white tiger didn't give her a chance. He went straight for her weak spot. Dilly's turned and ran. A snake's gotta be smart. Know when to bend, know when to break. She'd try again tomorrow. That night, Dilly's carefully followed a straggling beastman. She found the orc tribe's territory. The next morning, Dilly showed up at the tribe's gate. She shifted into human form. Wearing a homemade tank top and shorts, she stood at the entrance, her big, round eyes wide open. She looked hesitantly at the orc tribe beastmen nearby. But snakes are cold by nature. No matter how excited or nervous Dilly's felt inside. To the beastmen, her expression seemed dark and cruel. This snake beast doesn't seem sincere at all. The white tiger, no, was the one everyone considered the next chief candidate. So today, he was handling the snake beast matter. In place of the busy chief, snake beast. What are you doing at our orc tribe so early? Dilly's was still shaken by that white tiger. But seeing he didn't seem about to attack, she relaxed a little. Then she perked up. Inside, Dilly's felt like a little snake happily wagging its tail. Join. Having never dealt with beastmen before, she stammered a bit. The beasts looked at Dilly's. The green beast mark on her throat started whispering among themselves. This snake beast looks barely grown, but he's already green marked. Kino, our tribe's most talented one, was only yellow marked when he came of age. Beastmen have ranks. The rank is shown by a mark like a mole on the throat. From lowest to highest, red, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, gray, white, black, 10 ranks. Higher ranked beastmen are rarer. White marked beastmen are already very rare. Black marked ones exist only in legends. If this snake beast really joins, our tribe gains another strong fighter. But he's a lone beast, cold-blooded and ruthless. Who knows what bad thing he's planning by joining us? Seeing the talk turn against her, Dilly's got anxious. Her already big round eyes widened even more in panic. But to the beastmen, it looked like the snake beast was angry, ready to fight. Kino glanced thoughtfully at Dilly's throat. Snake beast. Do you really want to join the oak tribe? Dilly's nodded hard. The beasts reacted even more strongly. Kino thought for a moment. By tribe law, to join us, you need to hand over 100 red crystals. Dilly's tilted her head. Red crystals? What's that? He means the red crystals from fierce beasts. But from the beast's view, the snake beast was annoyed, thinking, how dare you ask me for stuff? Fight me. No cleared his throat. Or we could make an exception and let you come to Oak's bonfire. If a female accepts you and mates with you, you can stay in the Oak tribe. With a female, Dilly's brain short-circuited. No nodded. Wait, that doesn't sound right. Yes, mate with a female. But Dilly said awkwardly. I like males. As she said it, she instinctively glanced at No's broad shoulders. The snake beast's gaze was bold. He didn't try to hide it at all. So No noticed Dilly's checking him out. Being targeted by a male, No suddenly felt creeped out. Dilly's was even more confused. A female liking males. Is that weird? One of the Beastmen couldn't hold it in. A female mating with a male is only natural. But you're clearly a male, snake beast. I'm a female. Dilly's corrected him, annoyed. How could you be a female? You're clearly a male who can shift forms. Females can't shift. Dilly's wanted to argue. But hearing what the Beastman said, she suddenly realized something was off and shut her mouth. No thought about Dilly's words. But since Dilly's was a snake beast, he dropped the idea that she might be a sacred female. Sacred females only exist in legends. Snake females rarely survive, let alone a sacred female from the snake clan. Dilly's left the Oak tribe. She found a damp cave near the tribe's territory. She planned to settle there for now. She'd deal with the whole females can't shift thing later. Just a few steps from the cave, Dilly's caught the scent of another snake beast. Snake beasts are loners. They don't have fixed homes. So they don't really have territories. But they still have a sense of territory. Especially when it comes to their own cave. This snake beast smelled higher ranked than her. Dilly's turned and ran. But as she spun around, a stiff snake rod blocked her from above. It slammed hard into her weak spot. Dilly's felt like her heart was about to stop. She was knocked back a long way. She shook her head, coughed silently a few times, and her tongue flicked around in discomfort. But her long time living in the wild helped her calm down quickly. She stared warily at the snake beast staring back at her. It was a gray-striped one. Sure, the saying goes, a wise man knows when to yield. But that only applies to beastmen with rules and order. For lone beastmen, showing weakness in front of them is like telling them, you can eat me now. Dilly's raised her body in a threat, her tail tense and ready. The gray-striped snake beast didn't care about her. A little green-striped nobody. He let out a snort. He circled around Dilly's with an air of nobility. His cold eyes slowly showed curiosity. Dilly's tried to run away several times, but Graystripe easily beat her back each time. This damn level suppression. She was a fool for levels below this snake beast. The black-red snake head finally stopped at her belly, near the scales that hid a certain gender trait. He stared at it curiously, then flicked out his tongue. Dilly sprang away, her eyes wide. The tiny nostrils near her eyes flared open. She looked totally freaked out. Graystripe propped his head up with his tail, all dignified, checking Dilly's out. Then he suddenly whipped his tail at her. Dilly's had no choice but to fight back. A 4-level gap in rank was no joke. Dilly's was almost ready to be eaten. But Graystripe only attacked with his tail, never going for the kill. It felt more like he was testing her. Dilly's was totally confused. He toyed with her for a while, until Dilly's had several bruises on her body. Only then did Graystripe pull back his tail, satisfied. It seemed like he approved of something about Dilly's. His upper half shifted into human form, lean and muscular. Silky black hair hid a few red strands. He was dangerously beautiful. Dilly's was seriously stunned by this snake beast. Then the transformed Hylos nodded at Dilly's, signaling her to shift too. Dilly's figured it might be a trick, and shook her head like crazy. Tylos got impatient, and threateningly extended his tail. Dilly's immediately raised her own tail. She pulled her vest out from her reverse scale, stuck her head through it, then shifted. Once her upper body became human, she covered her front to avoid showing anything. Tylos had never seen a female snake beast before. He stared straight at Dilly's reverse scale, like a simple, clueless little kitten. What a pretty little sacred female. She looked thin. But Tylos knew from their earlier test that her body was strong. Clearly, this was a tough little snake who had beaten all her brothers at birth and survived alone in the jungle until adulthood. Afraid Tylos would mess with her again, she reluctantly exchanged names with him. I'm Dilly's. She wasn't sure what the snake beast wanted. Snake beasts were always cold and solitary. It was already a miracle they hadn't fought to the death, let alone exchanged names. Tylos pointed at Dilly's belly and tail. Are you a sacred female? Dilly's had no idea what a sacred female was. Her pretty brows furrowed in confusion. What's a sacred female? A little female who knows nothing. Tylos's interest grew. He circled around her. Dilly's tried to escape again. But predictably, Tylos grabbed her by the neck and pulled her back. Tylos was a straightforward snake. Once he decided he wanted something, he spoke up. Be my mate. No. Her mouth was faster than her brain. By the time Dilly's remembered she should regret it, she had already been thrown by Tylos into a pond near the cave. The two snakes fought in the pond. But it wasn't really a fight. It was more like one desperately resisting while the other easily held her down. Dilly's, a fool 4 levels weaker, was no match for Tylos at all. She used every trick she had. But in Tylos's eyes, she was just a little ant dancing. It was pretty amusing. Exhausted, Dilly stopped and lay still at the bottom of the pond. Tylos scooped her up with his tail and carried her back to the cave. Round 2 of forcing the bond began. Dilly started fighting back again. Even though Tylos intended to force the mating bond, he wasn't in a rush. He was mostly just messing with her for fun. Realizing that made Dilly's even angrier. 20 years as a human, 2 years as a snake. And she'd never been toyed with like this. Did snakes even have any shame? During the day, Tylos went out hunting, or coiled up in the cave for a nap. Dilly's took the chance to run away. At night, she was caught again. Later on, Dilly's went out to hunt ferocious beasts, secretly saving up red crystals. At night, Tylos would coil her back to the cave and wrap her up like a pretzel to sleep. Dilly's resentment over her lost freedom grew heavier. She started taking it out on the beasts around the orc tribe's territory. She even leveled up from green marks to blue marks. After a few days, beasts from miles around would run at the sight of her. That made her red crystal gathering efficiency drop off a cliff. Even though the mystery of the sacred female was still unsolved, Dilly still felt that saving up red crystals can't be wrong. After all, it seems the Beastmen here use beast crystals as currency. She used to go it alone as a snake. One snake fed, the whole family's fed. Whenever she got beast crystals, she'd eat them all to level up. When she actually needed them, she couldn't produce a single one. One day, Dilly's was gloomily slithering around the outskirts of the orc tribe's territory. He's really around here? Why can't I see him? No. Are you lying to me? A girl riding a white tiger walked along the edge of orc territory. The girl kicked the white tiger's head in frustration. Dilly's hid in the grass. Go call that snake beast out. Don't hurt him. The white tiger let out a roar. Krona got mad and kicked the white tiger. No. I'm your sister. I finally found a male I like. And you won't even help me. It breaks Mom, Dad, and my heart. The white tiger rolled his eyes and roared again. Krona yelled back, that's not true. No, I haven't. That snake beast is the first male I've ever liked. That bear, It was that blue-marked white tiger that bit her on sight. Dilly's pressed herself even lower. That snake beast? Is she talking about me or Telos? You need to hurry, or he'll miss tonight's bonfire party. The white tiger roared in strong disagreement. Danger, I believe the snake beast won't hurt us. He genuinely wants to join our tribe. Besides, you're here. You're one of only 2 blue-marked warriors in our tribe. That snake beast is only green-marked. With you here, he wouldn't dare hurt the tribe. So she's definitely talking about Dilly's. Dilly's poked her head out of the bushes. Her slit pupils turned into friendly circles. Oh, snake beast! Krona happily jumped off Noseback. No put a paw on her shoulder. Stop his carefree sister from running straight toward a dangerous snake beast. Hello, snake beast. I'm Krona, daughter of the chief of the oak tribe. Krona puffed out her proud chest. Her figure was curvy, her features sharp. Healthy wheat-colored skin. By modern standards, she was a beautiful, healthy woman. Dilly shifted her upper body into human form, still wearing her homemade tank top. Dilly's. Krona's proud smile froze for a second. Her eyes locked onto Dilly's face and wouldn't let go. In just a few days, Dilly's had leveled up again. And he was even more beautiful. His skin was as smooth and soft as an egg. His hair was as silky as sea beast mermaid silk. It shimmered in the sunlight. He's so beautiful, more beautiful than a woman. For a moment, No had the illusion she was female. Even though she was very flat, he quickly shook off that ridiculous thought. Been single too long. Even males start looking cute. Dilly's. I invite you to be my mate. Dilly's nostrils flared wide in shock. I'm still cautious. Dilly's didn't dare admit she was female. She just said dryly, no. Getting rejected so bluntly by a male. Krona was not happy. Why? I'm the prettiest female in the oak tribe. And the chief's daughter. Plus, I just came of age this year. If you agree to be my mate, you can be my first mate. Dilly's thought for a moment. She just repeated her last answer. Krona's pride was seriously wounded. She put her hands on her hips. and like a proud peacock loudly accused Dillies. How can you reject me? If you mate with me, you can join the tribe right away. And I'm this beautiful. Don't be ungrateful. Oh, come on. This is going nowhere. Dillies flipped her tail in frustration. No. Krona shrieked in disbelief, furious and about to lose it. You rejected me 3 times. Dillies. Being chosen by me, Krona, is your honor. So annoying. Dillies turned to leave. If you don't become my mate, even if you trade 100 red crystals, you won't be allowed into the Oak tribe. No was really fed up with his sister. He was about to try and talk Krona down. Then the snake Beastman's scales flared up. A snake's pride can't be disrespected. Dillies turned around and arched her back. Her fangs bared in a threat. You're asking for it. Seeing the snake Beastman about to lose it, No quickly got ready for a fight, worried the snake might actually attack a female. Dillies saw that. This white tiger was itching for a fight. She got even angrier. She lunged at him. No saw Dillies was really about to attack a female, and forgot they were there. To invite Dillies to join the tribe, he quickly set Krona down and charged at Dillies. By the time the other beastmen came to watch, the snake and tiger were already going at it. When everyone thought the snake beastman was about to get wrecked by the blue-striped white tiger, they were surprised to see the tiger didn't have much of an edge in rank. Dillies was quick and agile. One moment she was up a tree, the next in the water, then attacking fiercely, then hiding in the grass. She aimed for the tiger's soft belly, using every snake advantage she had. As the fight went on, she slowly started to gain the upper hand. On her last climb up the tree, Dillies quickly pulled a vest from her reverse scale, shifted her upper body into human form, and said, feigning anger, each word deliberate. Ridiculous. No also shifted into human form. Snake Beastman, you attacked our female first. Dillies' scales flared in anger. She just wanted to join a tribe. Not only did she fail to join the tribe, but she ended up in trouble instead. Snake Beastmen are the most impatient creatures when it comes to socializing. You attacked me first. You showed hostility toward a female. No continued calmly. For some reason, he, a respected tribe hunting captain, was actually willing to argue with Dillies. Dillies was totally speechless. She yelled in anger, her voice going shrill. With that attitude of hers, she deserves it. I don't need Oak. Dillies flipped him off, showing her contempt for Oak. Then she turned and walked away with a proud stride, heading in the opposite direction of Tylos's cave. No lost the argument. Dillies' words hit the mark. Even though, in No's experience, most females acted that way, still, he felt Dillies was the one being wronged, and had every right to be angry. This fight was a misunderstanding. Next time he saw Dillies, he'd just apologize properly. Once they were out of the Oak Beastman's detection range, Dillies suddenly hunched over, her proud attitude completely gone. She looked around sneakily like a thief, making sure Tylos wasn't nearby, then sped up and ran away as if escaping. But when night came, Tylos still found her without fail, and coiled Dillies back to his cave. That awful gray-striped snake beastman. Over the next few days, Dillies started running deeper into the forest. Every day she hunted until she was bruised and battered before coming home. At night she rested and healed her wounds, and was forced to sleep next to Tylos. The next day she went back into the forest to hunt and level up. She even went deeper into the forest to find fierce beasts and raise her level faster, so she could beat Tylos and win back her freedom at night. Tylos didn't seem to get it. These past few days, he'd been basically keeping her under house arrest, locking her in his cave. Sure, during the day Tylos left her alone, but he was always secretly watching from the shadows. Otherwise, how could he find her without fail? Every single time the sun went down, and coil her back to his cave? But if Tylos wanted to bond with her, he wasn't making any moves. That made it hard for Dillies to fully blow up at him. After all, he was a beastman, which kind of fulfilled half her wish to live in a group. But she still felt frustrated. For now, though, she decided not to join the Oak tribe. So the tricky question of why females couldn't shift was put on hold by Dillies. She wasn't about to ask that stinky snake beastman, who always forced her to sleep next to him at night. She'd asked him before and he didn't answer. No way was she going to beg him a second time. HMPH, Dillies thought with a scowl. When Krona got back, she threw a huge fit, demanding the chief recruit Dillies into the tribe. Half the beastmen were against it, half were for it. Those against it doubted the snake beastman's intentions. Those for it were impressed by his strength. The chief was torn, so he asked no. No hesitated, then nodded. That snake beastman seemed decent enough. And he had good talent. The tribe needed talented, strong beastmen. Both of the tribe's blue-striped warriors agreed. The chief finally gave in and said if the snake beastman came again, he'd let him join the tribe. But the snake beastman never showed up again. Krona thought about him every day. Finally, she couldn't wait any longer. She rode her brother No into the forest to find Dillies again. The beasts were pretty tough today. Dillies ate a yellow crystal. Her wounds mostly healed up. She dragged her tired body out of the deep forest. Dillies, Dillies. Dillies propped her snake head up in a tree. Krona. What trouble is she stirring up now? Dillies. Krona rode No up to Dillies. Dillies, since you're sincere, Oak accepts you into the tribe, Krona said reluctantly. Dillies tilted her snake head, giving a sideways glare. But she turned and left coldly. Hey, Dillies, don't be ungrateful. No side inside. With an invitation like that from Krona, she was lucky not to get hit. He set Krona down and shifted into human form. Dillies. A deep, magnetic voice spoke. Dillies turned her snake head. Dark skin, white hair. Hard, bulging muscles. Broad shoulders and straight back. A rugged, high-class tough guy look. Dillies glanced down, then jerked back like she'd been burned. What the heck is with not wearing clothes? Kino glanced oddly at the clearly flustered snake. What's so great about male and male? No, wait. Kino still had some doubts about Dillies being a sacred female. The thought that he might have been showing off to a female. Kino suddenly felt awkward. He quickly grabbed from Krona his own animal skin and wrapped it around his waist. Dillies, I want to apologize for the other day. I misunderstood your intentions. Thought you were going to attack a female. So I struck first. Dillies tilted her head with a tsundere air, glancing sideways. This white tiger was pretty upright. But she had no beast crystal. And she didn't like Krona either. With so many tribes out there, Dillies didn't need to stick with just one. So the snake got ready to leave again. Dillies, the tribe needs your powerful abilities. And we believe you'll only grow stronger, contributing even more to the tribe. In return, the tribe's beastmen admire your talent and strength. I believe if you join the tribe, many strong warriors will want to befriend you. When the Great Flame season begins, the tribe will organize a hunting party to trade for salt at the North Sea. Hunting, smoked meat, even trading for females. When you reach the North Sea, you can also make friends with many Sea Clan beastmen. That really got Dillies seriously tempted. Why did she want to join a tribe? Wasn't it for the community? For the friends? That whole North Sea salt trade. That sounds fun. Dillies loves new, fun, and lively things. But I don't have any red crystals. If you agree to join the hunting team, you can join the Oak tribe directly. That good. Feels like there's a catch. Dillies hesitated. But then she thought about how every night, Tylos would drag her back to his cave. Does Oak have any gray marks? No gray marks. But we do have one purple mark beastman. He's our chief. And 2 blue marks. 1 purple mark and 2 blue marks should be able to take a gray mark, right? Dillies finally nodded. Kino carried Krona on his back, with Dillies walking beside them. The 3 of them headed toward the Oak tribe, because he was taking care of Krona. Kino moved very slowly. But Dillies was still wary of Tylos, afraid he'd notice she was leaving and come after her. Her tail twitched nervously. Hurry up. What's the rush? They already said you can join. The Oak tribe keeps its word. They won't go back on it. Krona swayed on Kino's back. Dillies felt a pang of envy. The males were really gentle and took good care of the few females. Just look at Krona. But Kino still carried her. Ugh. Why doesn't she get that treatment? Just because she's a female who can shift forms. What's so wrong with a female who can shift forms, huh? Dillies really wants to know. Her tail sweeps the ground faster like a pendulum. Soon she's swept a patch of dirt bare. Snake beastmen are moody. He swaggers into the Oak tribe. Dillies found a spot on the edge of the tribe, the shadiest place, and left her scent. She plans to go out tomorrow to cut wood or dig stone to build a den. Dillies goes out to see what's up. She grabs a little red-striped unlucky guy. What's going on? But from the other beastman's view, Dillies is viciously pinching his waist, with a cruel look like she'll kill him if he doesn't answer. The red-striped beastman trembles. He's looking for Dillies. The red-striped beastman looks innocent. Tylos is here. Dillies figures that since she's in the tribe, he can't touch her. She swaggers to the tribe's entrance. To snake beastmen, one inside and one out, flick their tongues in turn. Delis shifts into human form. Hands on her hips. In human form, Delis is only about 5'11", compared to the beast world's average of 6'6". She's ridiculously short, let alone compared to Tylos, who's over 7'2". But Delis isn't fazed at all. She stands inside the gate and laughs. Actually, this snake beastman, because of his beast nature, only let out a contemptuous snort. Tylos watches Delis. He slides forward a few steps. The guard beastmen instantly tense up, arching their backs. Delis snorts again and pinches her cheeks. She coolly sticks out her pink tongue. Naya Naya Naya. Can't catch me now. Ha ha ha. She shifts into her beast form and rolls around on the ground a few times, wriggling like a caterpillar. She shoots Tylos a defiant look. Kino, who's always lived a proper life, is stunned. You can do that? Is Delis really a male? Every step Tylos takes, more beastmen gather around him. Even the two blue-striped beasts shift into beast form, ready for battle. Delis takes one last look. She finally notices the slight curl of Tylos's mouth. It's the first time she's seen him smile. Tylos is a black and red snake. In human form, he's lean but muscular, much stronger than Delis. His skin is as fair as hers. His hair reaches his waist, a waterfall of black hair streaked with red. When he smiles, he's dangerously beautiful. Delis is mesmerized. This dangerously beautiful snake is also a gray stripe. He's got looks and power. She, a little female snake, feels inferior. Many females around are both scared of and fascinated by Tylos. Gasps and murmurs start to rise. Delis snaps out of it. She turns her snake head away with a pout. The beastmen suddenly gasp. Delis looks over curiously. She sees Tylos walking toward her with a purple crystal in his right hand. Delis backs away, her big round eyes wide open. But the chief is standing behind her without her noticing, blocking her escape. The heavens want the snake dead. Delis, feeling hopeless, thinks Tylos is about to coil her up again. But Tylos just stops in front of her. Right in front of a frozen Delis. He gently pries open her equally frozen mouth and places the purple crystal inside. Gulp. She swallows it. If Delis were in human form right now, every beast would see. Her eyes bulging like brass bells, and her tiny nostrils flared wide in shock. Tylos gently rubs his thumb across Delis's lips. Little snake, don't tell the tribe you're a sacred female. His voice is a little gentle, a little crisp, making any beast feel oddly at ease. But what exactly is a sacred female? Delis is about to go crazy with curiosity. Tylos leans in closer to Delis and tells her a story. Legend says thousands of years ago, the beast god, to protect beastmen reproduction and preserve their power, gave a rare few females male strength, calling them sacred females. They are born in beast form, with survival skills as strong as males. And in just 2 short years, they fully mature and gain the ability to reproduce. A sacred female mating with a male can produce beastmen with greater talents, and she can bond with an unlimited number of males. But because sacred females are so rare, those from small tribes are often fought over by beastmen and taken by force, imprisoned. But even though sacred females in big tribes have strong warriors to protect them, they end up being kept under tight guard. They're pampered and spoiled all year round. Their powerful abilities never get trained or used, and their genes become weaker over time. Sacred females gradually stopped appearing. Now they only exist in legends. After telling the story, Tylos leaves. Delis is left alone, totally confused. What does that mean? It means if I want to survive, I can't just live like a woman, right? She can't live as a male forever. Wait, that's not right. If you're just telling a story, why give me a purple crystal? The snake is confused and stressed. She slithers back to her new home in a daze, coils up in a tree to sleep and clear her head. Hey, Dillies. At night, Krona comes to her tree, hands on her hips. A big brown bear follows behind her. Dillies, there's a bonfire party tonight, you coming? A party? Delis decides to stop thinking for now. She happily follows them to the party. Krona invites her to her small bonfire. Right now, only the big brown bear, who came with Krona to get her, is sitting there. He's shifted into human form, wearing a leather skirt. Delis follows without a second thought. But on the way, No grabs her. The weak spot, a snake's weak spot. No drags her to the big bonfire. Delis bares her fangs at him. She looks just like a spoiled little female flirting with her mate. No thought to himself. He kindly warned her. Haven't you noticed every small fire has a female by it? So what? She's a female too. Why can't she go? Besides, even if she's pretending to be male now, aren't there males by those small fires too? Della slapped her tail on the ground in protest. Which female invited you to share her small fire? That means she wants to bond with you. The protest stopped abruptly. Della's kissed her clothes out from her reverse scale. She went to a private spot, shifted into human form, changed, and came back out. No was just talking to Clona, who came to ask for Della's. No one knew what the two beasts said. Clona stood with her hands on her hips, looking defiant, sticking out her proud, ample chest. Della's looked down at her own flat chest. So, is that why she's a sacred female? But gets treated like a male by the beasts? But now that she's joined the Oak tribe, besides temporarily pretending to be a male, there doesn't seem to be any other choice. Clona was eventually persuaded by No to leave. She stomped away from the big bonfire in anger. Having decided to temporarily live disguised as a male, Della's felt a lot more relaxed. She grabbed a lamb leg, sat cross-legged on the ground and started chowing down. After surviving in the wild for so long, eating raw meat for so long, the question of table manners had been firmly crossed off Della's survival list. No couldn't help secretly watching Della's. She was a bit short, didn't have much muscle. Sitting next to him, she looked as small as a little female. This snake beast looks way too feminine. Is it male or female? If she really is the sacred female, she probably wouldn't just tell me. No thought it over, and tentatively started talking to Della's. Dillies, night at Orcs, 5 newly adult females will choose mates. Is there anyone you like? You can go up and compete. The top 10 beasts get first pick of mates. Della's had given up on her gender issue. She firmly decided she was male. She glanced up casually at the 5 little females on stage, then said, uninterested, No didn't give up. He wanted to ask more about her relationship with Tylos. But the conversation of 2 nearby beasts caught his attention. Do you smell that? The scent of a female about to go into heat. Why is it so strong this time? No sniffed the air. There was indeed a strong scent of a female in heat. Is it Krona's scent? She's the closest to us. Della stopped chewing on the meat. She quietly recalled what she knew about females in heat. She was an orphan. No one taught her about this. She had just become an adult. She didn't know anything. No way. A beast took a deep sniff. The scent is sweet. And a little cool. Doesn't smell like a white tiger in heat. Della seemed to realize something. She pretended nothing was wrong and kept gnawing on the lamb leg. She quietly scooted her butt away from the 2 beasts. That move also brought her a little closer to No. The scent in No's nose grew stronger. He almost thought Della's was going into heat. The 2 beasts next to him were getting more heated in their chat. If I ever mated, I'd treat my female good every day. Pick sweet fruits and plant white berries for her. Whatever she wants, I'll give her. Even if I had to go to the North Sea to trade for shells, I'd take all my prey and trade for them right away. That's nothing. I could. The other beast kept rambling on. Della's chewed on her meat, happily listening to the 2 chat. Even though the males talked about cherishing females, would that kind of care really make a female happy? Della's thought. In the beast world, females were precious. What was precious was their ability to reproduce. So-called care was just carefully raising a female that could breed. If a female couldn't have kids, would the males still love them with all their hearts? But being a male wasn't great either. If Della's kept pretending to be male, wouldn't she never be able to mate and find a family? Wouldn't she be alone forever? She really wanted to team up with another beast and live together. Della's was seriously torn. She chewed her meat hard. The next morning, Della's slept in for once. But then Krona came to get her early, still followed by a big brown bear. Dillies. Della's held back her morning grumpiness, shifted her upper body into human form and jumped down from the tree. The beasts all went hunting. Aren't you going? A snake beast only needs to eat once every 2 days. Della's wasn't hungry right now. But she needed to go find materials to build a nest. So she followed Krona out of the tribe. Even though she didn't like the proud Krona, she still had questions about female heat to ask Krona. So she had to force herself to be friends with her. Just as they reached the tribe's entrance, Della saw Tylos standing guard there. Her whole snake body went stiff with anger. She stared at Tylos warily. Tylos had a kill lying next to him. When he saw Della's come out, he pushed the prey toward her. Della's wrapped her tail around it and hurled the prey back at Tylos. Tylos caught it cleanly and threw it back. Without thinking, Della's threw it back again. The two snake beasts ended up playing catch. The other beasts watched the two snakes flirting. Is male-male love common among snake beasts? Tylos shot the crowd a cold glare. The beasts quickly pretended nothing was wrong and left. Delis was furious. She crushed the prey hard, then stormed back into the tribe. Let that stinky snake wait outside the tribe. But Krona actually followed Delis. Just now on the way out of the tribe, Delis had asked her a lot of questions about female heat. She also asked where to find the cotton for heat. Krona was thrilled, because Delis was finally ready to accept her. That's right. Delis asked her all those questions, because she must be planning to propose to her during her heat. But that snake beast outside the tribe seemed stronger and better looking than Delis. Krona stood at the tribe's entrance, staring at Tylos's face. Her cheeks flushed. Hey, snake beast. Tylos gave her a cold look and turned away. Hey, snake beast. Krona chased after him. The big brown bear let out a mournful howl. He wanted to stop fickle Krona, but she rejected him. Krona didn't look back as she caught up to Tylos. The big brown bear resignedly followed behind Krona. Tylos was getting annoyed. He headed toward a pool of water. He went in, sank down, and completely hid his tracks. Krona stomped her foot in frustration. Delis looked around at the tribe's entrance. Sure, there was no sign of Tylos. She quickly left and entered the forest. She started looking for nest-building materials. Chopping down trees one by one is too much trouble. Maybe I should just find a big rock instead. As long as the place is comfortable to live in. It doesn't need to look good. But carving the rock is also a big problem. She's a snake beast. She doesn't have sharp claws like tigers, wolves, or lions to carve stone. She tried chipping at it with the tip of her tail a few times. It was super slow. And it came out all bumpy. She thought of No from the Blue Stripe tribe. So she went to ask him for help. No flat out refused. No way, a male has to build his own nest. Even for a female. Only her mate or suitors can help build her nest. Delis blinked her big, pitiful eyes and thought it over. She pulled out red crystals from her reverse scale. She thought for a moment, her expression pained. Then gave him all the red crystals. No was speechless. As a blue-striped beastman, he didn't need that little. Delis thought for a moment. Her snake tail coiled around No's ankle. The tip of her tail gently rubbed against his. It was a total act of begging. No's dark face flushed from her teasing. He almost went weak in the knees. This move enraged Tylos, who was hiding in the pond. He suddenly burst out and attacked No. When the other beasts arrived to watch the drama, the fight had already shifted from Tylos versus No to Tylos versus No and Delis. Tylos stopped. Delis shouted, unusually clear. Snake beasts are all cruel creatures. And Tylos is a gray-striped beastman. If he really wanted to kill, taking out a blue-striped beastman would be way too easy. But Delis is now a beast of the Oak tribe. If No died in front of her, even if her conscience could handle it, she'd still be afraid of the trouble. So she had no choice but to help No fight. Tylos stopped. His slit pupils locked onto Delis. He slowly shifted into human form. No was covered in wounds. Delis, though, was completely unharmed. The three beasts faced off. Tylos looked a little lonely. Delis. This was the first time he'd called her name. Delis shivered. She caught a hint of Feng Yuan in his voice. Don't kill any beast of oak. Hearing that, Tylos's lonely mood lifted a bit. Be my mate. The watching beasts all gasped hard. Here it comes. A male bonding with another male. No. Delis refused again. The beasts all choked on their breath. A gray-striped male likes you. Why not go for it? Tylos's eyes turned into dangerous slits as he stared at No. The little female just showed interest in him. The little female likes the white tiger. The little female joined Oak for the white tiger. Kill the white tiger. I don't like wandering. I want to join a tribe. Right before Tylos made a move, Delis quickly added that. Okay. Tylos answered without hesitation. What does okay mean? Till Tylos handed a green crystal to the Oak chief. Delis finally understood what that okay meant. Great, now he's joined the tribe too. Delis, totally defeated, plucked cotton in the cotton field. Even though she was freaking out inside, she couldn't slack off on the work. Krona told her that female beasts go into heat twice a year. Once at the start of the great hot season and once at the start of the great cold season. A female's first heat marks her true maturity. And she can mate for the first time. If she's lucky, she'll get pregnant. Then she'll carry the cubs through the great hot season. If she doesn't mate during heat, it could permanently damage her body, leaving her unable to bear cubs forever. Newly matured females are especially fragile and absolutely must mate. That's why every year the tribe holds a bonfire party just for newly adult females to pick strong mates for them. Heat cycles are like modern girls' periods. In the beast world, cotton works like sanitary pads. But mating after heat is a big problem. Dilly's doesn't mind the beast world's polyandry rules. She doesn't mind finding a mate right after coming of age either. But right now she's male. How is she supposed to mate with a beastman during heat? Plus, she's only about 10 days away from her heat cycle. She doesn't want a rushed relationship and then rush into marrying a male. A huge white cotton flower appears in front of Dilly's. Dilly snaps back to reality and looks at Tylos, a bit confused. For you. Tylos moves his snake tail, revealing a mountain of cotton behind him. That's a lot. Dilly's looks at the tiny cotton ball in her arms. Her thoughts drift back again. Tylos doesn't seem so bad, actually. Thinking back, Tylos is a gray stripe, way stronger than her. Before joining the Oak tribe, Tylos did force her back to his cave every night. But other than that, he was really good to her. When she challenged him, Tylos never hurt her. The few times Dilly's hurt Tylos, he didn't care at all. When Dilly's got hurt fighting a beast, Tylos would firmly pin her down and lick her wounds, secreting slime to bandage her. During the day, Tylos never restricted her freedom. Tylos even used the skin he shed as an adult and his own hair to make her a set of clothes. A crop top and a short skirt. It fit her perfectly. But Dilly's was determined to find freedom and join the tribe back then. So she kept rejecting Tylos without thinking. She angrily threw the clothes back at him. Dilly's hesitantly took the mountain of cotton. With only one tail and two hands, she could barely hold it. Tylos took her things and stuffed them all into his reverse scale. All of it fit in there? How could his reverse scale space be so big? Tylos chuckled but didn't explain. He kept it mysterious on purpose to spark Dilly's curiosity. Actually, when a snake beast's level breaks through the purple mark, the reverse scale space can get big enough to hold a beastman. But it doesn't show on the outside. Their reverse scale still lies flat, hidden somewhere along the tail. Dilly's took the bait. She leaned down to check Tylos's reverse scale near the tip of his tail, trying to pry it open. Tylos stopped her. Dilly's didn't get it. She poked at Tylos's reverse scale again. The tip of Tylos's tail suddenly twitched. It tensed up. Still expressionless, he pushed Dilly's hand away. Dilly's got playful. She reluctantly pulled her hand back. Watching Tylos seem to relax, she suddenly reached out and gave his reverse scale a hard squeeze. Tylos let out a muffled groan. Dilly's laughed and ran off. But as she turned, Tylos grabbed her and pushed her to the ground. His cool lips touched hers. To stop this mischievous little snake from doing anything else, Tylos wisely pinned her down with his tail. Dilly's couldn't move. Tylos's lower abdomen uncontrollably bulged, pressing against Dilly's. Dilly's got scared and tried to squirm away. You pervy snake. Don't move, Tylos said coolly. His lips were still on hers. Get off, you pervy snake. Dilly stared with wide eyes. But Tylos let out a low laugh. You're the pervy one. You are. Dilly's threatened him with her fangs. Tylos freed one hand to rub her head, his voice low. You're asking me to mate. No, I'm not. You can't touch a snake's tail. Dilly's refused to admit it, mumbling quietly. I touched your reverse scale. That's still part of the tail. Tylos leaned down and gave Dilly's one last kiss. The hard thing pressing against her was gone. Tylos went back to his blank expression. He pulled Dilly's up. Little snake, let's go home. Dilly's tried to pull her hand away, but couldn't. She turned her head away. The word home made her suddenly emotional. Her little nostrils flared, and her eyes quietly got wet. You're the little snake. Oh, little snake, let's go home. Even though Tylos knew Dilly's wanted to make a nest out of stone, he was also a snake beastman. Carving stone was a painful job, so Tylos just used an orange crystal, hired a beastman to help them build the house. Speaking of building the house, Dilly's had a lot to say. But since Tylos paid for it, Dilly's felt awkward speaking up. She nervously chewed on her tail tip. Tylos chose to build on her territory, so it was for her, right? So what kind of house should it be? He should at least ask her opinion. Tylos couldn't ignore the little snake's stare. He quietly turned his head. The little snake blinked her big innocent eyes. With an eager look that screamed, "Ask me," Tylos smirked. and ruffled the little snake's head. What kind do you want? Dilly's perked up instantly. The house should face this direction, this side, this side, this side. This side is the front door. This side is for living. This side is for storage. This side is the living room. Dilly spoke slowly and haltingly, beaming with excitement. She pointed around with her slender fingers. Seeing Tylos had no reaction, she slid onto the territory and explained with wild gestures. No still remembered Dilly's asking him to build a house. That plan fell through because of Tylos's interference. No was a bit worried, so he came to check on Dilly's territory. Dilly. Before he could finish, Tylos smacked him away with his tail. Dilly's turned at the sound. Tylos, who had been expressionless just a moment ago, slowly gave a gentle smile. What was that sound? Ants? Tylos smiled. Trying to invade your territory. Nice work. Dilly's turned to the Beastman in charge of building the house. Add a floor, thanks. The Beastman worked very efficiently. The house was built in a single day. Tylos very casually took over the bedroom Dilly's had originally planned, coiling up lazily in the corner. Dilly's figured since he paid for it, taking one room wasn't a big deal. That night, Dilly's went to sleep in the room she'd planned as a woodshed. But Tylos wrapped his tail around her and pulled her back to the bedroom. So what she paid for wasn't the bedroom. It was sleeping with the snake. The next day, Krona showed up at Dilly's house right on time again. But this time, she wasn't calling for Dilly's. She was calling for Tylos. Dilly suddenly understood. This female sure changed her mind fast. She couldn't tell if she felt relieved or heavy-hearted. Relieved that Krona might never bother her again. Heavy-hearted that Krona had set her sights on Tylos. Dilly's had secretly been hoping to make Tylos her mate. But Tylos never responded to Krona. A few days later, Lone Beastman joined the group. The downsides of the tribe finally started to show. As the hot season ended and the great hot season approached, cold-loving, quiet creatures like snakes grew more irritable. The wooden house was comfortable, but a bit hot and dry, and noisy at night. Plus, since the two lone Beastmen were used to rough living, their new home was basically just a different cave to curl up in. Every meal was raw meat and blood. It was basically no different from the wild. Occasionally, Dilly's, who didn't totally hate fire, would grill some unseasoned meat. It didn't even taste a tenth as good as the barbecue at the bonfire party. Life was extremely uncomfortable. And they didn't even have basic animal hides for bedding, because Snake Beastman didn't know how to tan hides. Dilly's thought for a moment. She had no choice but to go find No, who seemed reliable enough. Early in the morning, Dilly's caught a lot of prey and dragged it to No's place. She had too much prey. And as a newly joined green-marked male, she drew a lot of attention along the way. The Snake Beastman is going to see No. He seduced the powerful Snake Beastman Tylos yesterday. Now he's coming to seduce No. The Snake Beastman Dilly's only goes after the strong warriors in our tribe. Is he trying to make all our high-level fighters childless? Snake Beastmen really are malicious. Dilly's felt an itch at the tip of her tail. She looked over. The speakers were to green-marked Beastmen. If you can't talk, shut up. Dilly's lifted her proud chin. After a few days in the tribe, she was talking more. She was getting more fluent. We're not wrong. Dilly's. The powerful Snake Beastman Tylos already asked to mate with you. Why don't you two males just live together? Why do you have to mess with No, the white tiger? The tribe needs strong beastmen to reproduce and grow stronger. But you, a male, insist on seducing another male to mate. Isn't that just making them childless? Dilly's listened to the two beastmen going on about being childless. She was annoyed inside, her face dark. Snake's anger level went up by 10. Skinny dogs. The beastmen were stunned. What did you say? Dilly's walked over and raised her snake tail, making herself a head taller than the beastman. She looked down at him with contempt and flipped him off. I said you're tiny. 3 minutes and done. The blue-marked beastman was furious and about to strike back. When he had a second thought, he suddenly swiped his claws at Dilly's back. Her top was torn. Dilly's quickly grabbed her clothes, barely covering herself. Dilly's anger level went up by 100. Enough was enough. She smacked the blue-marked beastman with her tail. He barely dodged and quickly shifted into his beast form. He was a giant black wolf. The black wolf snarled and charged at Dilly's. Dilly stayed half-shifted. Her claws might not be able to carve stone, but they could easily tear through a black wolf's body. Dilly's opened her mouth. Venom shot from her fangs. The black wolf barely dodged again. A snake beastman actually tried to kill a wolf beastman with poison. That's so vicious. Well, snake beastmen are a vicious race. Dilly's glared at them with her narrow, slit eyes. He tore a female's clothes. Isn't that going too far? Female. Snake beastman, are you crazy? You can shift, but you don't have. You're clearly male. Dilly's was completely shut down. Right then, she really wanted to scream. I am a female, but she couldn't cause herself that kind of trouble. But life here was really frustrating. She really wanted to leave the Oak tribe right now. She dropped the prey and stormed off angrily. Tylos happened to be out today. Dilly's mind was a mess. 2 years of living alone made her really want to join a tribe, to live together with everyone in unity. But her identity seemed like a big problem. If she really left the Oak tribe like this, would the next tribe be even worse than the Oak Beastmen? She coiled herself up like a mosquito coil, slumping in a corner of the hut, thinking about her life. If only she could be a normal female. No, weak females die easily. A strong sacred female would make it easier for her to survive in the beast world. But sigh. Tylos came back and clearly sensed Dilly's downcast mood. Tylos moved closer to her, flicking out his snake tongue toward her. His silky, smooth hair fell in front of Dilly's, a few strands brushing across her cheek. It tickled and felt nice. Dilly's accepted his comfort. Tylos, can't I really tell everyone I'm a sacred female? Tylos didn't say anything, just rubbed her head. Just as Dilly's was about to break down in tears, Tylos finally spoke. Little snake, you're about to go into heat. Tylos, please don't make things worse. The snake just covered its head with its tail and went into full emo mode. Dilly's prey was left in front of No's house. After No came back from hunting, he asked the nearby beastman and planned to return the prey. No waited outside Dilly's door. When Dilly's came out, her eyes were still a little red and swollen. The smell of a female in heat hit him right away. Even stronger than at the bonfire party. So strong it made a beast restless. No was afraid he might lose control. So he quietly stepped back a few paces. Dilly's, are you going to take a mate? Dilly's hadn't snapped out of her sadness yet. She was past caring and started rambling. No, I'm not. I like males. But you smell like a female in heat. For some reason, No was stubborn about getting to the bottom of this. Dilly snapped back to reality, stared at him with wide, innocent eyes and said flatly, you smell wrong. She picked up the prey to go back inside. No blocked her. The doorway to Dilly's house wasn't big. And No was the huge, muscular type. With his broad shoulders, he spread his arms and blocked the whole door. Dilly's, which female is going to mate with you? No female. The smell on you is strong. I wouldn't get it wrong. Dilly's couldn't think of an excuse, so she just stared at him with wide eyes. It made No feel strangely guilty. He'd never admit that whether Dilly's was male or female. He kind of didn't want her to take a mate. No's guilt was obvious. Dilly suddenly gave a nasty grin. No. Do you like me? No was startled. He jumped 3 meters back, right into Dilly's house, then got smacked out by Tylos's tail. No wanted to dodge Dilly's question anyway, so he used it as an excuse and got back at Tylos for that tail slap. Tylos, let's fight. So No started fighting the snake again. The crowd of beasts showed up again. But this time, the gossip was aimed right at Dilly's. Look, another male beastman is fighting over Dilly's. He's the strongest in our tribe. Dilly's is a male. Having Tylos as a mate is enough. And now he's going after No. No might already like Dilly's. See? He's fighting for Dilly's. The beasts were all gossiping. Dilly's wanted to shout back. I am a female, but Dilly's couldn't. The snake held its breath. Its weak spot was about to explode with rage. Krona showed up riding a big brown bear. Tylos, be my mate. Dilly's tail swept the ground clean in fury. Tylos is my mate. How can a male be with a male? You're making Tylos have no heirs. Krona said righteously. Tylos, if you'll be my mate, I can make you my first male. Dilly's sneered. She wanted to ask the big brown bear, following a female like that, won't you regret it? But Dilly's wouldn't ask. She's a snake beast. She preferred to show her feelings through action. Dilly's wrapped her snake tail around the big brown bear's neck and flung him away hard. Dilly's, what do you think you're doing? Krona screamed. Teaching you a lesson. The tribe doesn't allow harming females, so I'll just have to go after her male instead. Dilly's didn't feel guilty at all. If you follow a female like that, you should expect the consequences. If the big brown bear was smart, he'd leave on his own. If he didn't, then Dilly's would respect his loyalty. The big brown bear was also a green-marked beastman. But against Dilly's, who had survived in the wild long term, he was no match. While Dilly's was toying with the big brown bear, Krona went to No for help. Too bad No was getting beaten up too. Dilly's only stopped Tylos after she had dealt with the big brown bear. No got up from the ground, covered in wounds. Dilly's quickly checked his injuries. Luckily, they were all just superficial. She knew Tylos was a snake who knew his limits. Ignoring Tylos's protests, Dilly's carried No to his hut. She set him down in his nest. Dilly secreted some mucus from her mouth and smeared it onto No's wounds with her claw. No squirmed and tried to pull away. This little scratch will heal by tomorrow. He tried to resist, but Dilly's pressed harder. She practically rubbed the mucus right into No's wound. Only then did No let Dilly's treat him. No had mixed feelings. He figured he must have been single too long. Since he got so flustered around Dilly's, he didn't know what to think. After calming down for a while, No tried to find something to talk about, to break the awkwardness between them. Dilly's, how will Tylos mate with you? But inside, he wanted to slap himself. Why did I ask such a dumb question? Dilly's just gave a sly smile and leaned in close to No. No, you really like me, don't you? A snake's memory only lasts 3 seconds. So Dilly's sadness came and went quickly. Her curiosity about mating and love soon gave way to youthful energy. A day later, Dilly's was full of spirit as she joined the hunting party led by No, heading out to hunt. In a few days, the females would start going into heat. Till then, the hunting party would hunt as much as possible, smoke the prey, and stockpile beast crystals to prepare for trading for more salt in the North Sea. Of course, if they were lucky, they could also trade for females. Dilly's was a green-marked beastman, so she had to join these hunts. But maybe because her heat was coming, Dilly's felt irritable and uncomfortable all over. Today, she was following No's team. They ventured deep into the eastern forest to try their luck. Tylos wanted to come along, but Dilly stopped him. She said Dilly's might go into heat in a few days. As the only beastman who knew Dilly's was a sacred female, she needed Tylos to find a cave for her to hide in and stock up on a lot of prey. After her heat ended, she would mate with Tylos, and then they'd leave Oak together to find a new tribe to live with. To cover up the scent of her coming heat, Dilly specifically asked Tylos and covered herself in herbs. It was a plant that masked scent and confused a beastman's sense of smell. Today's haul was good. They'd already gotten over a dozen red crystals, plus a few orange and yellow ones. No let out a low beastly growl at the front of the group. That meant to stay alert. The beast stopped in their tracks. Everything was quiet. After a long moment, a bush suddenly rustled. Almost at the same time, a dark figure shot out from the bushes. It was a green-marked green snake. The beasts were about to fight when more fierce beasts burst out of the bushes one after another. All of them were high level. Then a sharp bird cry rang out from the sky. Before Dilly's could even see what the bird beast looked like, it dove straight down. It's a white-marked fierce beast. Fall back now, Dilly shouted to the others. The highest in their group was only blue-marked. Even if every beast fought for their lives, they couldn't beat this white-marked bird beast. No decisively led the retreat. In an instant, the first green-marked snake was snatched by the bird beast. A few drops of blood fell from the sky. The bird beast swallowed the snake beast. It didn't bother with the other beasts. Instead, it locked onto blue-marked No and dove straight at him. No! Run toward the trees. Dilly's kept her upper body in human form. She quickly warned No. No did as she said. But the white-marked bird beast was no joke. Every time No hid under a tree, almost at the same time, that tree would be snapped by the bird beast's wing. And the bird beast's flight wasn't affected at all. That's so unfair. After running for miles, the bird beast was getting closer and closer. Dilly spotted a pond. No! Dive into the water. No had never escaped a bird beast by diving before. He had no idea if Dilly's plan would work. But deep down, he trusted her. He plunged into the water. The bird beast realized Dilly's was messing with its hunt, so it dove straight at her. Dilly's dove into the water right after. No was sinking too slowly. The bird beast saw its chance and went for him again. Dilly's wrapped around No and pulled him down. The others followed her lead and jumped into the pond. But at the very bottom of the pond, a huge, nearly circular creature was coiled there silently. Its body was covered in countless sharp, pale teeth. Snake beasts have great vision underwater. When she saw that strange thing that had appeared out of nowhere, Dilly slammed on the brakes. She stopped just before crashing into it. But before she could steady herself, the strange creature suddenly heaved like it was breathing. Its fangs surged upward. Dilly spun around sharply underwater and fled toward the surface first. No wasn't so lucky. His fur got heavy as soon as it touched water, making it hard to fight the inertia and swim up fast. The other land beastmen were no different. One by one, they fell into the monster's mouth. No watched helplessly as his men died. His heart was heavy, but there was nothing he could do. Dilly's was closest to No, so she whipped her tail around and grabbed him. When her tail coiled around him, No was in shock. He followed the tail with his eyes and saw Dilly's, the snake beast, swimming in the water with a determined look, pushing him away from the monster's jaws without hesitation. But her own weight made her sink slowly. The white tiger's pupils dilated. His furry tiger head was full of disbelief. His eyes slowly fixed on Dilly's alone. Her smooth black hair and pale, graceful body drifted together in the water. Sunlight scattered through the surface like a holy shape. As the beastmen were devoured one by one, only Dilly stayed calm in the face of danger, giving No her only chance to live, sending him to shore. So what if she wasn't a female? No suddenly thought. Then No would give his life to Dilly's, protecting her forever. The strange creature, tasting the delicious food, seemed triggered. Its speed suddenly increased. What was once a half-circle bulge quickly stretched into a square shape. Now it was like a giant mouth lunging at Dilly's and No. Even Dilly's hadn't seen this coming. She'd never escape anyway. So instead, Dilly's mustered all her strength and hurled No toward the surface. But she sank fast. Soon her back hit the monster's fangs. Blood poured from countless wounds. From No's view, seeing No hesitate to go ashore, Dilly signaled him to get to land. If they both survived, he would protect Dilly's forever. No thought, and swam firmly toward the surface, ignoring the wounds on her back. Dilly's pushed off hard from the monster's teeth with her snake tail, then sprang up fast. She barely escaped the monster's mouth, swimming quickly to the surface. The bird beast that had been circling the lake, leaping high into the air. The monster followed close behind. But the bird beast that had vanished was lurking at the edge of the pool. Seeing Dilly's and No jump out, it opened its mouth to attack them. But the next second, the monster suddenly changed targets, swallowing the ambushing bird beast in one bite. Dilly's finally got a clear look at the monster. It was about 60 feet across, shaped like an upside-down jellyfish, covered in spikes on the outside, and lined with sharp teeth inside. A dark green creature. As it leaped out of the water, a strong, strange floral scent hit them. Dilly's and No immediately covered their noses, slipped in through the wound on Dilly's back. Dilly started to feel dazed. She shook her head, knowing they couldn't stay there. She stumbled quickly toward the edge of the forest, with No right behind her, ready to cover her retreat. Her back was a bloody mess, maybe because of that floral scent around her wound. No couldn't help but frown. Please, don't let anything happen. Dilly's breathing grew faster and faster. She started scratching at the wound on her back. No quickly grabbed her hands to stop her. Dilly's condition was critical. They couldn't wait to get back to the tribe. No found a cave and brought Dilly's inside. By now, Dilly's was very agitated. She started rolling wildly on the ground, rubbing her back against it. As if her half-beast form wasn't working, Dilly shifted fully into her snake form and rubbed her wound frantically on the ground. The wound was visibly getting worse. No was afraid she'd hurt herself like this, so he pinned down both ends of her snake body to keep her still. With her movement stopped, her vertical pupils instantly turned red. She opened her fanged mouth to bite No, but she was pinned down and couldn't move. So she shifted into human form and swiped her claws at No. No was about to dodge, but then he saw something unexpected and took Dilly's claw head on. He saw she was a female. Dilly's was actually a female. Pale skin, a slender waist. She wasn't fully developed yet up top, but her waist-to-hip ratio was insane. No's blood suddenly ran hot. A warm trickle ran from his nose. He quickly slapped himself, cursing himself under his breath. His mind finally cleared. Dilly suddenly froze. Her eyes were fixed on the cave ceiling. Her mouth hung open as if she saw something. She gasped like a fish out of water. Then she let out a pained groan. Dilly's curled up into a ball. Her eyes shut tight, her face twisted in pain. But she couldn't hold out for long. She started writhing on the ground, rubbing against everything. Her behavior was really strange. No's heart trembled with worry. He carefully moved closer and pulled Dilly's into his arms. Dilly's, hang in there. I'll take you to a vet right now. But Dilly's, at no sudden touch, acted like she'd discovered a new world and clung to him, refusing to let go. No felt her grip on him tighten. She rubbed against herself, unable to bear it. Her whole snake body was slick and wet. No suddenly realized what Dilly's was trying to do. But how could he take advantage of her in this state? Dilly's grew more and more uncomfortable, until blood started seeping from her nostrils and ears. No finally steeled himself and knocked Dilly's out with a single blow. He wanted to take Dilly's back to the tribe, but he couldn't. From what he'd just seen, No now knew Dilly's was a sacred female. Thinking back, he also knew Dilly's didn't want to reveal her identity as a sacred female. After a brief struggle, No hid the unconscious Dilly's. He shifted into his beast form and raced back to the tribe. No didn't make a fuss. He ran as fast as he could to Dilly's home. Tylos had already sensed something and was waiting in the yard. No skidded to a halt, kicking up dust. Tylos, listen to me. Dilly's needs. No was panting from exhaustion. Tylos understood immediately and signaled No to lead the way. No was already exhausted and moving slowly. Tylos, annoyed by his slow pace, hoisted No onto his shoulder and had him point the way. In the cave, Dilly's woke up again. She was in so much pain, she couldn't help but cry out. She was the only beastman in the cave. Dilly's had to help herself. She stood up, leaning against the cave wall. She walked outside. Outside the cave, Tylos had just arrived with No on his shoulder. Blood was still seeping from the wound on Dilly's back. Blood mixed with dirt dripped down her leg and onto the ground. She was already pale from blood loss. Tylos's tail instantly tensed up. Useless. No slumped over Tylos's shoulder. Even though his name wasn't called, knew for sure Tylos was cursing him. He was about to say something when Tylos smacked him away with his tail. Dilly's looked up and saw Tylos. She thought he was a hallucination from the flower scent. She hesitated, afraid to approach. But Tylos held Dilly's as fast as he could. The male snake beastman's crisp scent filled her nose. Dilly's mind quickly went hazy. Her body grew hot again. She couldn't help clinging to the cool Tylos. Little snake. Tylos called to her. His voice was cool and refreshing too. Dilly's was mesmerized by it. She mumbled a drowsy reply. Little snake. You've been hit by passion grass. The little snake in his arms murmured something unclear. She nuzzled Tylos's collarbone. It wasn't enough. She nuzzled his cheek. Finally, she nuzzled his cool lips. Tylos's Adam's apple bobbed. Little snake. Be my mate. Dilly's voice was thick, but she answered clearly. Tylos didn't really believe her. He lifted her face and forced her to open her eyes. Little snake. I'll cure your poison. Dilly's face was flushed red from the fever. Her head was spinning. She couldn't really think about anything complicated. But she still knew one thing clearly. I'm sorry for getting you. Tylos pressed his lips to hers, cutting off Dilly's apology. Tylos had lived in the wild for so long. He was used to keeping healing herbs in his reverse scale. When a snake beastman's rank breaks through to purple stripes, the space in their reverse scale becomes huge. It can easily hold a No. Tylos treated Dilly's wounds first, then got down to business. The whole process was gentle. Tylos turned his lower body into a snake tail, wrapping Dilly's tightly in his arms, but being careful not to touch the wounds on her back. Snake mating takes a whole day and night. During that day and night, No stood guard outside the cave to protect them. When bored, No listened to the sounds from the cave and looked up at the sky. He thought back to the first time he met Dilly's, all the way to the last time he saw her. A little snake beastman only 2 years old. Yet she had such strong survival skills. She wasn't very cunning. She didn't even know people mistook her for a male. When he found out Dilly's was a female, every little temper she had, every little move became incredibly cute. No smiled slightly. A proud blue stripe male, saved by a green stripe female. The female got hurt and poisoned, saving him. This debt of gratitude. No didn't ask to be her mate. He just wanted to stay by her side and protect her. The mating finally ended. But the female's pained cries didn't stop. No worriedly looked in from the cave entrance. But Tylos came out and blocked his view. The two beasts stared at each other in silence. Tylos's expression was cold. I'll find medicine to cure the snake. I'll go. You stay and protect Dilly's. No quickly offered. It's dangerous. You can't handle it. No was speechless. I don't think Dilly's is doing well. If you can't. Tylos was silent for a long time after that. No was getting anxious. No. Go help her. It was a tough choice. As a snake beast with a strong possessive nature, having just gotten a mate, he had to give her up. It was agonizing. But to save Dilly's life, Tylos had to go deep into the forest for the antidote himself. Because No's rank was too low. Thinking about it, having to give the second mate position to a weak blue-striped tiger beast, Tylos felt deeply resentful. But saving the snake's life was more important. In the end, Tylos had to compromise with reality. When Tylos said this, every word was hard to get out. His voice was clear but slightly hoarse. No could hear the helplessness and loneliness of having just gotten a mate and having to give her up. He pressed his lips together. No promised Tylos, I'll protect Dilly's with my life. Tylos didn't respond. He left all his healing herbs and his own snakeskin, and quickly headed deep into the forest. Dilly's was already asleep, but she was restless. Her brows were deeply furrowed. No's heart ached like it was suffocating. He gently turned Dilly's over, cut Tylos's snakeskin into thin strips, crushed the healing herbs, and applied them to Dilly's. The herbs stung the wound, waking Dilly's up. Her eyes were still clear. She knew No was treating her. Dilly's turned her head, but didn't see Tylos. Her face was pale, her voice hoarse. No. Where's Tylos? He went to find an antidote for you. Dilly's. Do you want something to eat? Dilly's frowned. She really didn't have an appetite. But to survive, she had to eat. So Dilly's nodded. Half a day later, the poison flared up again. No didn't want to take advantage of her. But when he saw blood coming from her nose and ears, and even her eyes starting to bleed, he made up his mind. Dilly's, I'll cure your poison. If you don't want to bond with me after, then just cut my beast mark. When a female has no feelings for a mate at all, cutting the mate's beast mark with a sharp tool will break the bond between them. So another half day passed. After Dilly's barely suppressed the poison again, two beast marks had appeared on her body. A gray-black little snake, wrapped boldly and proudly around Dilly's right thigh, coiling upward. On Dilly's right collarbone was a gray-black, majestic little tiger. Dilly's got up again and ate a little something, her back covered in medicine and wrapped in animal hide bandages. Even a small movement hurt a lot. But it also helped her regain some clarity. She winced and walked toward the cave entrance, stood at the opening and looked into the deep forest, trying to see if she could spot Tylos. The next morning, Tylos finally returned. Dilly's was just going through another wave of the poison. Tylos helped Dilly's cure the poison again, while No stayed outside the cave, processing the antidote Tylos had brought back. It was a thing that looked like charcoal, black and unknown. After Dilly's ate it, the poison gradually faded. But she was confused. She was clearly poisoned by that monster. So why did Tylos say it was love herb poison? Hearing that, No also remembered. He sat at the cave entrance to keep his distance, not looking at Dilly's, who was held in Tylos's arms inside the cave, and said a little louder, "Love herb and that monster look very similar. Except it has no thorns. And its whole body is smooth and green. They usually grow at the bottom of pools." In the old days, vicious male beastmen would risk picking this herb to force females to bond with them. But ever since they found out females can break the bond by force, very few beastmen go to pick love herb anymore. So that means the monster we met is like a mutant version of love herb, Dilly's said, sounding a bit weak. Tylos looked confused. Kino asked for him. What's a mutant? Dilly's really didn't know how to explain. In the end, since the monster looked like an upside-down jellyfish, Dilly's named it the beast-eating jellyfish. Male snake beastmen are extremely possessive creatures. Back then, because they were so possessive, they always kept females all to themselves. But because of their lifestyle and other issues, they didn't know how to take care of females. So snake beastmen often accidentally let their females die. Don't ask why only male snake beastmen are so possessive. Because they can't even keep their own females alive. Their offspring are pitifully few. Even if by some luck a female was born among those rare offspring, a young female even weaker than an adult one, she'd easily die right after birth. So female snake beastmen are almost non-existent. And because of that, Delis is the only female snake beastman in the beast world who can shift. And Tylos's possessiveness is no less than any other snake beastman's. Even though he let Kino bond with Delis to save her life, he still has no good feelings for a beastman who can't even protect a female. Plus, the little snake doesn't like Kino. So Tylos made it perfectly clear on his face that he doesn't welcome the little snake's second mate. So Tylos mercilessly used his snake tail to sweep Kino outside the cave to guard the entrance, because she went berserk from her injury. Delis's clothes were torn to shreds by herself, to the point they were completely unwearable. And since Delis has medicine on her back, she can't shift into her beast form. So she had to lie naked in the cave. This time, Tylos also hunted a purple striped beast. He fed the purple crystal to Delis. Delis's wounds healed up quickly. They barely hurt anymore. Tylos took a piece of his own shed snake skin from his reverse scale, a fish bone with a hole drilled in it. He pulled out one of his own hairs. He waved Delis over. Delis had no idea what was going on. Tylos gestured at her body. Then he ruffled her hair. He spread out the snake skin. With a flick of his nail, he cut the fabric and sewed the clothes. If male beastmen weren't only allowed one mate in their lifetime, Delis would have thought Tylos was a player. In no time, Tylos had made a small tank top with wide shoulders, easy to put on and take off. It perfectly covered her beast markings and fit well without restricting movement. Delis really liked Tylos's handiwork. What girl doesn't love looking pretty? But Delis felt bad taking something from Tylos for free. Even though they were already mates, Delis clearly hadn't gotten used to that yet. So, as a trade, Delis pulled out her own pure black snakeskin. She picked the best-looking piece and gave it to Tylos. Then she pointed at the leftover snakeskin and pointed at her hips, her pale lips half-bitten, clearly trying to act cute. Wanting one. A long one. Tylos did it quickly. Making a skirt was simple. Just cut it to the right width. Sew up both sides. Delis tried it on. She's naturally narrow-waisted and wide-hipped. This open, tight dress on her body perfectly shows off her figure. The half-slit design gives her an extra flirty vibe. Overall, she was very satisfied. Delis felt this was the best moment in her snake life. The sexiest she'd ever been. Delis hugged Tylos and gave him a big kiss, then went to bed happy. Tylos didn't keep Delis's shed skin. Instead, he used it to make her more clothes. He even made, based on Delis's description. To pairs of women's boxer briefs from the 21st century. The tiring day finally ended. In the middle of the night, the ground shook. Delis woke up with a start. She wanted to get up and check, but Tylos held her down. Tylos walked out of the cave. Kino, who was supposed to be guarding the entrance, was already on top of the cave observing. Their cave was halfway up the mountain. They could roughly see deep into the eastern forest. The ferocious beasts deep in the forest, for some reason, suddenly gathered in the middle of the night and ran quickly out of the forest. Delis told Kino to wait patiently. She and Tylos went down the mountain to check. These beasts didn't seem to be migrating on purpose. They panicked, crashing into trees around them. There was even a stampede. Everywhere the beasts passed was littered with plants and their remains. It looked like they were fleeing. An eagle cry rang out in the sky. Delis saw the same kind of bird beast as yesterday, except this one had purple markings. It cried out miserably. Many other bird beasts followed it, flying out of the forest. Could something terrible have appeared in the forest, making all the beasts flee in panic? Looking at the direction they're running, that scary thing is probably in the south. Kino couldn't help thinking about the giant man-eating jellyfish he'd run into in the pond. There are underwater beasts, but Kino had never seen or heard of anything so creepy. He had a bad feeling. Wait, the oak tribe is right north of the eastern forest. That's exactly where the beasts are heading. Delis realized that too. Her gut told her Oak might be in big trouble. As a member of Oak, she should go back and help. But since joining Oak, Delis hadn't been that happy. The beastmen of Oak never really accepted her. And she didn't stay in Oak's house for free. The Oak chief even took Tylos, a green crystal, and a lot of Delis's prey. Delis had no interest in being a saint. But Kino was a beastman born and raised in Oak. He probably wouldn't ignore them. But now Kino was bonded with Delis. Tylos was Delis's first partner. By all logic, Kino should prioritize his own partner. and follow the orders of his first partner, Tylos. Kino, torn by his morals, looked anxious. He kept glancing toward the Oak tribe. Tylos made a quick decision. He said, "Protect the little snake," and left the cave, heading toward the source of the beast stampede. Aside from the forest being creepy at night, everything seemed fine. After traveling a bit, Tylos suddenly stopped and flicked his snake tongue. The thick forest had been torn open by the stampede, blending into the night. There's a strange power. A power even higher than the black markings. Tylos paused for a moment, then turned and rushed back to the cave. Tylos quickly explained the situation. Kino grew even more anxious. "Tylos, please stay and protect Delis. Is Kino really going alone to save Oak?" Delis sighed softly. She wasn't Kino, so she wouldn't question his feelings for Oak, or judge how reckless his decision was. Even though she wanted to stop him, she understood that if she held him back now, and something really happened to Oak, Kino would blame himself forever. "Let's go together." Delis stepped out of the cave. Kino was moved by Delis's loyalty. His resolve grew even stronger. He would protect Delis with his life from now on. Tylos watched the little snake and the dumb tiger interact, and his tail tightened again. By the time they reached Oak's tribe, dawn was breaking. The houses were crushed to pieces. The remains of trampled beastmen were everywhere. The thick smell of blood filled Delis's nose. In just a few hours, Oak's tribe had been flattened with no survivors. Even Delis, a cold-blooded snake beast, felt a pang of sorrow at the sight. Kino's eyes turned red. He shifted into his beast form and frantically dug through the pile of bodies. When he finally found the crushed remains of Krona, he let out a mournful roar to the sky. The ground trembled again. Before Delis could react, Tylos threw her onto his back, grabbed Kino with one hand, and ran north. "Tylos, what's going on? A higher-level beast stampede is coming." The gray-striped snake beast's speed was no joke. Delis felt the wind whipping past her face. Tylos was carrying Delis as he ran. Along the way, they ran into other beastmen, worried about revealing her identity. Delis shifted into human form early, and used her leftover snake shed skin to cut a long rectangular strip to cover the rank beast mark on her neck. Even though they were heading north like the stampede, ever since they encountered that stampede in the eastern forest, they never saw another one up close. The further north they went, the less damage from the stampede there was. Judging by the tracks, it seemed the beasts had split up again in suitable spots. As for where they'd end up, that wasn't Delis's concern. Kino had been grieving the loss of his tribe and his family for barely 2 days. But after Delis started showing signs of irritation and discomfort, his pain seemed to quietly slip away. Kino finally realized he'd been neglecting Delis, and felt deeply guilty. If it weren't for Kino losing his sister, and Delis deliberately calming Tylos down, Tylos would have long wanted to smack that clueless mate of hers with his tail. North of the eastern forest was a huge grassland. It was the transition between the hot season and the great hot season. The weather was warm, and the grassland was full of fresh green grass and colorful flowers, mixed with the scent of soil. Delis felt like her whole snake life was beautiful. Of course, beauty only lasted a moment. Tylos set Delis down in human form. She immediately shifted into her snake form and started writhing on the ground, restless, twisting, crawling, squirming. She even tried, like an earthworm, to burrow into the dirt and loosen up the soil for the crops. Tylos picked Delis up like a rope and carried her to a small river. Delis slipped right in. She sank to the bottom of the lake and started twisting, writhing, and crawling again, squeezing into cracks between rocks. Uncomfortable. Everywhere felt uncomfortable. Really uncomfortable. Even her chest and belly felt swollen. By night, it even ached a little. She's going into heat. Tylos's sense of smell was sharper than any beastman's. Delis's scent had been getting sweeter every day. Tylos couldn't help it several times. In the middle of traveling, he'd suddenly stop and whisk Delis away from nose sight. He'd flick out his forked tongue and lick Delis all over. But he never did anything that crossed the line. Delis was like a young girl experiencing things for the first time. She didn't understand anything. She just naively invited Tylos, saying her injuries were long healed. Tylos didn't have to hold back. But Tylos still refused. He wanted to wait until Delis's heat was over. If a female mates before she's fully mature, it can seriously harm her body. He'd already missed his chance once. He couldn't hurt his little snake a second time. So, when she first met Tylos, the reason Tylos only forced Delis to sleep with him became clear. Delis's admiration for Tylos shattered. But Tylos again wanted to kill No. It was like Tylos the pig had his eye on a perfect cabbage, carefully watching over it, ready to gently nibble it when it was ripe. But in the blink of an eye, that cabbage was stolen by another clumsy pig and got hurt. Now Tylos the pig had to clean up that clumsy pig's mess. And to save the cabbage, he had to share it with that clumsy pig. He couldn't think about it. The more he did, the more No got on his nerves. Delis sank to the bottom of the water. Tylos shifted into his snake form and sank down too. His forked tongue touched her face, and his body slid over Delis's now extra-sensitive skin, making her shiver with pleasure. Other beastmen from tribes fleeing disaster came to the river to drink. Delis shifted back to human form underwater and climbed out. The great hot season was coming, and they still had to walk across the grassland for several days. For snakes who love the shade, that was a nightmare. Delis grew even more irritable. She rolled around on the ground in human form. The scent of her heat was strong, and she was throwing a tantrum without a care. The beastmen around couldn't help staring at her. Tylos was half submerged in the water, half lounging lazily on the bank, his vertical pupils scanning each beastman. The one sneaking peeks at Delis shuddered and didn't dare look at her again. Snake beastmen hate fire. Even though Delis could eat raw meat, Kino couldn't bear to let her eat poorly during such a rough heat. So he took charge of making lunch for the three of them. There were plenty of gentle animals on the grassland, so Kino didn't need to shift. He easily caught plenty of prey in human form. A fire was set up and Kino worked nearby. The midday sun was scorching. Delis crawled on all fours to the spot farthest from the fire. She tripped over her long skirt and face planted a few times along the way. But Delis was a tough female. She got right back up and headed toward the river. The farther from the fire, the better. She lay weakly by the river bank. Tylos soaked her body in the water, leaving only her head above the surface. It helped cool her down a lot. Some bold beastmen still stubbornly tried to get close to Delis, but Tylos sent them flying with a swipe of his tail. Delis was in a bad mood and couldn't be bothered with them. There were plenty of females by the river too. Females of all races go into heat on the same days. The sweet scent of females lingered along both sides of the river, making many beastmen restless. The weaker ones left early to avoid temptation. Most of the beastmen who fled here had some strength. They stayed, hoping to protect females in exchange for a chance to court one and become mates. If lucky, they might even become a female's first male. In the beast world, plump females were considered beautiful. A tall, thin female like Delis was rarely accepted by beastmen. They thought she was too skinny to breed well or survive the harsh cold season. But there were some beastmen with good judgment. They could see that even though Delis was thin, she was all muscle. Actually, she was healthier than most females. Female. For you. A wheat-colored hand held out a giant grain of rice to Delis. That's right. A grain bigger than a beastman's palm. Delis shot up. She reached for the grain, but Telos snatched it from her hand and tossed it back to the beastman. Delis gave Telos a sad look and tried to grab the grain again. The little snake didn't understand that accepting a gift meant accepting his interest. Telos was frustrated. But if the little snake wanted it, of course he'd let her have it. So Telos tossed the beastman a red crystal in exchange. The beastman tried to refuse, but Telos smacked him away with his tail, not giving him a chance to say no. Ho, a bossy snake beastman. Delis examined the grain. In the sunlight, it was crystal clear, oval-shaped and hard on the outside. But with a little force, she could chip off a piece. Delis leaned in and sniffed it. It really smelled like modern rice. She took a bite. Crunch. Delis almost couldn't pull her snake fangs out of the grain. It was way harder than modern rice. She licked her little fangs, then slammed the grain hard on the ground. Really hard. But it didn't even crack. There was actually rice in this world that a snake couldn't break. Just as Delis was about to smash it with all her might, Kino saved that grain just in time. Dillies, do you want to eat it? Delis nodded eagerly. This is white nut. When raw, its shell is really hard. Even a purple-striped beastman has to work to crack it. But once cooked, it gets soft and big. That sounds a lot like modern rice. Delis managed to forget her discomfort. She watched Kino with interest. He found a big rock and carved a pot on the spot. After another day of travel, We'll come across a small tribe, Kino said while cooking. Delis did want to join a tribe, but Tylos had explained sacred females to her before. She decided it was safer to join a big tribe. Let's go to Nuxer. Tylos made the call. Delis was curious. Where's Nuxer? Kino explained for the quiet Tylos. Nuxer is the biggest tribe on the continent. I heard they have over 5,000 females alone. Nuxer is a good choice. But to get to Nuxer, we'd have to travel non-stop for at least half a month. You're close to your heat, why not rest a few days? Delis shook her head firmly. Even if we rest, it can't be now. She looked up at the sky. This was an endless grassland. And the hot season was coming. It wasn't even noon yet. The sun had only been up a little while. But Delis was already struggling with the dry heat. After the meal was cooked, Delis still didn't want to leave the water. Delis didn't want to come out. And neither did Tylos. That's life. Enjoy it while you can. So No just brought the grilled meat and the boiled white nuts down to the river. Delis grabbed one of the white nuts first, broke off half and took a big bite. While chewing, she handed the rest to No and Tylos. But both beastmen shook their heads. Delis paused. She reluctantly chewed the white nut a couple more times. It really tasted like rice. And it was so good. It felt like eating giant rice. No had boiled the white nuts just right. As she ate, it even reminded her of chewing on a homemade bun, nice and chewy. Delis's human genes kicked in. She swallowed the rice in her mouth, bit her lower lip, and sticking to the principle of sharing with family, asked again against her true feelings. Are you sure you don't want any? No. Tylos touched Delis's cheek. No smiled and shook his head. Only females like these plant foods. Delis took another bite of the white nut, squinting. So satisfying. Right. I guess I'll just have to eat it all. Females eat much less than males. That's because females can't shapeshift. They don't need as much energy to survive. But Delis was different. Because she could shapeshift, she needed more energy for hunting and survival. So she ate just as much as the males, with a white nut in one hand and grilled rabbit in the other. She had to admit No's cooking was really good. Even though they had no salt to use right now, No could still grill meat perfectly. Maybe it was the firewood he used, but the meat had a faint fruity and herbal taste. Delis was eating happily, not knowing that behind her, the calm river surface was quietly rippling. Tylos suddenly used his tail to push Delis onto the shore. Delis almost choked midair. No caught her quickly and got a clear look at what was happening in the river. Tylos' body seemed to be dragged by something and suddenly sank down. Then he leaped out again, as if he had broken free from whatever was holding him. But when Delis finally landed, her eyes locked onto Tylos' tail. His tail was wrapped in water weeds and he hadn't noticed when it happened. Just as Tylos was about to jump ashore, the weeds suddenly tightened. They not only bound Tylos, but also yanked him back into the water. Tylos' body dropped low. But the gray-striped snake beastman's strength was not to be underestimated. Tylos whipped his tail in the air, and the weeds wrapped around his tail were pulled up by the roots and dragged onto the shore. By the time Tylos landed, he was already a good distance from the river. But the weeds wouldn't let go. They crawled up toward his neck, as if trying to coil around his entire snake body. The other beastmen had already fled more than 10 meters from the river, watching in terror as they backed away. What's going on? How can weeds move? And it looks like they're attacking beastmen on purpose. Delis and No ran over to help Tylos tear off the weeds. Tylos shifted into his beast form and flared his scales. The weeds wrapped around him were cut into pieces and stopped moving. Delis couldn't help but think of the beast-eating jellyfish in the pond. Come to think of it, when that jellyfish jumped up to eat the bird, was there a thick stem attached underneath? She couldn't remember, no matter how hard she tried. Maybe it was just a weird hallucination of Delis's. The beast world. Are plants really this dangerous? Delis spent her 2 years before adulthood, living a bit deeper in the eastern forest. But back then she was in the western part of the forest. Still, she did survive there for 2 years. She'd never seen plants that could move and kill beasts. But looking at this pile of weeds still oozing green juice, which just moments ago tried to strangle Tylos, all of this was ridiculously convincing. Delis picked up one of the weeds that wasn't completely shredded and gave it a tug. It was way tougher than normal weeds. She pulled harder. It took some effort to snap it. The beast tide, the beast-eating jellyfish, the moving weeds, all these weird things lately, had every beast wondering. Tylos got ready to go back in the water. Tylos. Delos didn't want him to take the risk. But Tylos just turned and flicked his tongue at her, pushing her away from the stream with his tail, then went into the water without hesitation. None of the beastmen left. Maybe they were all waiting for Tylos to find something out, so they'd know what to expect. Males were always responsible beastmen. They wouldn't be scared off by a little trouble. If they weren't land beastmen, they'd have gone into the water with Tylos to investigate. Delos wanted to go too, but Tylos wouldn't let her. And all these beastmen were watching. Delos couldn't reveal her ability to shift form, so she had no choice but to wait. The two ate lunch absent-mindedly. No handed Delos the stone pot with boiled nuts. There's water in it. Delos didn't like things too hot. Now it was just warm, so she took a few sips. Rustling came from the grass. Delos and No were alert at the same time. One jumped back, the other swatted. Delos steadied herself. She saw under No's half-shifted tiger claw. A struggling plant root was pinned down. No way, we can't stay here. Even if all three of them were high-level beastmen. And beating some plants wasn't hard. This was too weird. Delos went to the river to call Tylos out. No quickly packed their stuff. Seeing such high-level beastmen leaving, the others packed up and left too, just to be safe. So far, they'd only run into easy plants to handle. But who could say the next moment wouldn't bring monsters even crazier than Greystripe? Tylos knew how serious it was. He set aside his hostility toward No and shifted into half-beast form, carrying Delos on his back and wrapping around No as they moved across the prairie. As long as a snake beast was well-fed, its stamina was impressive. They traveled non-stop for 2 days and 1 night. They only stopped briefly to eat some raw meat. At night, Tylos stopped. In just 2 days, Tylos had shrunk from exhaustion and dehydration, and his eyes were bloodshot. The three ate quickly again. This time, Delos and Tylos rode on No's back. No traveled through the night. No was much lower level than Tylos, so his stamina was much worse. After traveling non-stop for a day and a night, No's stamina had reached its limit. Delos could feel how dangerously hot his body was. This was a sign the tiger beastman was about to drop dead. Delos told No to stop. The three ate some more food. This time, Delos shifted into her beast form to carry the two of them. No and Tylos both had strange looks on their faces. Delos narrowed her snake eyes, feeling defiant. What? You don't think a green mark can handle it? No lasted a whole day and night. She could at least make it half a day. Delos let out a cocky roar on purpose. Tylos rarely cracked a smile. Half of his snake body was coiled around Delos's upper half, but his tail was still dragging on the ground. Delos crashed into the grass with a thud. Got it. She'd just let the big shots take care of her. No thought Delos was a little misled by her own crazy talent. Not everyone becomes a green mark beastman right after coming of age. Delos was a genius among geniuses. Take No, for example. Delos probably didn't really understand what No meant when he said he'd been a blue mark for 3 years. Delos was only 2 years old, that was the point. No had been around for way more than just a few 3-year stretches. If you really thought about it, No was probably not much younger than Tylos. And Tylos? If he'd made it right when he came of age, then by now Tylos could probably meet his own grandkids. Grey Mark was no joke. So Delos gained a new understanding of Beastman's age and strength. She smartly climbed onto Tylos's back and happily let Tylos and No take turns carrying her. Who said with great power comes great responsibility? Delos figured her Grey Mark was pretty high. But what could she do? She was still at the bottom of her little family. No way she could take on that responsibility. Delos wrapped around Tylos's waist. Her snake body followed Tylos as he moved. Her tail dragged on the ground, playing a game of tail drag. Sometimes she flipped over to drag a different side. Traveling was full and relaxing. The heat she'd been nervously waiting for finally came. Just like a modern girl's period. The only difference was how awful it felt coming on. Her back ached. Her stomach cramped. Her chest was sore. Even where she was bleeding, there was a heavy, falling out kind of pain. The rest of her body was all achy. The three beastmen stopped traveling. Delos had already curled herself into a snake pancake. Tylos cut a piece of shed snakeskin. He filled it with tightly packed cotton and tied it where Delos was bleeding. Tied tight. Delos turned her upper body human and cried out in despair. It hurts so much. She curled back into a snake pancake. Tylos carefully hung her round his neck. Delos buried her face in Tylos's hair and secretly cried. Were all Beast World females heats this brutal? Tylos beat up No again because of it. That's when Delis found out that actually, females heats didn't hurt. It was just because she'd mated before she was fully mature. Of course. It could also be thanks to the toxins secreted by the beast-eating jellyfish. On the first day of her heat, Delis felt like she was being tortured. The snake was in so much pain it couldn't even hiss. No and Tylos felt bad for her. They decided to skip traveling that night. They'd find a comfy spot on the prairie for Delis to sleep. They'd take turns keeping watch over her. And also rest up a bit. The next day, they traveled again. And rested at night. Tylos was faster than Delis in heat. And No with his blue stripes. So for most of the trip, Tylos did about 80% of the traveling. And to reach Nuxor as fast as possible, Tylos kept going at full speed. In the end, it took them half a month to get from Oak to Nuxor. Tylos, the gray-striped snake beastman, lost a ton of weight just from all that traveling. And the harsh sun made him shed his skin. Delis couldn't help but feel touched. Tylos took the outer edge of the northern forest. That was to avoid running into fierce beasts and slowing them down. At the northern edge of the forest, they could see Nuxor in the distance. It was noon, the hottest part of the day. The great fire season had begun. Nuxor lived up to its rep as the biggest tribe in the beast world. The whole tribal city was walled in with giant stones. The walls were taller than Delis in her snake form. By the time they reached their destination, dozens of high-level beastmen were already at the gate in battle stance. Leading them was an ape beastman. Delis was sure this was the first beastman she'd seen since crossing over, who looked like an Easterner. He wasn't tall, with average muscles, not as bulky as other carnivorous mainland beastmen. He looked about 30 years old. His hair was very long. After being smoothed down, it hung loosely behind him. He wore a robe made of animal hide. Ever since Delis first saw him, he had kept a gentle smile on his face. He gave off a very easygoing vibe. The ape beastman glanced at the three of them. His gaze lingered briefly on the snake-shed skin around Delis's neck. Then he looked at No. No was in human form. The ape's eyes paused on his beast markings. Finally, he looked at Tylos. His gaze fixed on Tylos's beast markings. Then he quickly looked away naturally. The ape's smile grew warmer. But Delis suddenly felt he was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Travelers from afar. What brings you to the Nuxor tribe? Sure enough, his voice was gentle too. He gave off a very comfortable and reliable feeling. In the beastman world, strength is everything. Territory must not be violated. Suddenly meeting such a civilized beastman set off alarm bells in Delis's head. The kinder he seemed, the more wary she became. The beastman behind the ape had already started murmuring. Delis noticed most of them were green mark or higher. She climbed down from Tylos's tail. Hello, my name is Delis. Are you the chief of the Nuxor tribe? I'm Hutulu. What tribe are you from? Female. Snake tribe. These two are my mates. He's No and he's Tylos. The other beastmen clearly weren't calm. A female from the snake tribe? The cold-blooded, cruel snake beastmen actually managed to raise a female properly? I doubt they raised her well. Look how pale that female is. She's practically nothing but skin and bones. Delis let out an embarrassed little cough. Going through 5 days of heat really took a toll. And with having to watch out for those weird plants, they had to move fast along the way, eating little and overworking themselves. It wasn't just Delis. No and Tylos looked just as rough. Chief Hutulu. We're originally beastmen from the Oak tribe in the eastern forest. Half a month ago, the Oak tribe was leveled by a strange beast tide. My mates and I happened to be out hunting, so we escaped the beast tide. To earn the chief's trust, Delis gave a rough summary of their journey. She just left out the weird plants. Listening to Delis, No looked a bit down. After hearing Delis out, Hutulu didn't agree right away. Instead, he smiled warmly and looked at Tylos. Female, your snake beastman mate is very strong. But snake beastmen are loners. Can you guarantee that after he joins the tribe, he won't harm the other tribe members? I can guarantee it. Chief, if Tylos couldn't live peacefully with the tribe, I wouldn't have taken No, a beastman from the Oak tribe, as my second mate. Look how well they get along. Tylos stood quietly behind Delis, the tip of his tail tensing up. He just can't help being allergic to No. In the end, they did successfully join the Nuxor tribe. But joining a big tribe came at a high cost. First, Tylos handed over a green crystal. Second, Hutulu told Delis that building the tribe required all beastmen to pitch in. And the tribe had a rule. Every family At the very least, during the Great Heat Season salt trade and the Great Cold Season hunts, half the males from each family had to contribute. Dilly's mates were all strong. After that, whenever the tribe had group activities, Dilly's mates naturally had to join in according to the rules. Dilly's could understand that. After all, to be honest, if it were just the males living on their own, they wouldn't need such a refined lifestyle. Beastmen can regulate their own body temperature. The salt they usually need, they can get from raw meat and blood. If it weren't for supporting the females, they wouldn't need activities like the salt trade at all. It's all for the females. The 3 Beastmen successfully joined the Nuxer tribe. Joining a big tribe came with a high cost. But the services they offered were really good. Not to mention their walls and patrols. Just the fact that joining the tribe came with a house, surrounded by trees to block the heat of the Great Heat Season, was enough to win Dilly's over completely. A Beastman led them to pick out a house. Since Dilly's and Tylos were both snake beastmen, they liked shade and quiet. So they picked a stone house with lots of trees. Dilly's and her group had very little luggage. Actually, they had almost nothing. The few clothes and cotton they had were all stored in Tylos's reverse scale. So the 3 beastmen moved into their new home with nothing. Dilly's didn't care if there was a bed or how hard the floor was. She just crashed and fell asleep. But she was a snake who knew how to enjoy life without a bed. Of course, it was more comfortable to shift into beast form and coil up like a mosquito coil. Tylos had done most of the heavy work on this trip. The whole snake was exhausted. Kino thought Tylos was going to rest. He offered to go hunting himself and let the 2 snakes rest. But Tylos refused and went hunting alone. Kino was confused at first. Then he finally caught on. Tylos was getting ready to mate with Dilly's. Dilly slept straight through till noon the next day in her new home. Her whole body was stiff. She stretched out feeling refreshed, then shifted into human form. But she smelled a stench. Turns out she hadn't bathed in 10 days. Plus the Great Heat Season was sweltering. Every day of travel left her drenched in sweat. Dilly's thought she could practically stink herself out. She quickly got dressed. Tylos had been sleeping beside her in beast form. When he saw Dilly's get up, he lifted his snake head and flicked his tongue eagerly. But Dilly's rushed out in a hurry. Kino, Kino. Tylos's tongue froze. His vertical pupils gleamed with jealous light. Kino had just come back with a pile of fruit and got tossed out of the yard by a snake's tail again. Tylos shifted his upper body into human form and slithered out leisurely. Dilly's had no time for a dazed Kino. She turned and grabbed Tylos. Tylos, where's the water? I need a bath. But the next second she realized, asking a snake who was aloof, bossy, and antisocial where to bathe in the tribe was totally wrong. She didn't believe that in such a big tribe, 5,000 females all had to travel miles outside the tribe to bathe. Wasn't she afraid of getting attacked by a beast? So she shook off Tylos and slithered quickly into the tribe. On the way, she ran into a female. Dilly's eyes went wide. She eagerly approached her. Excuse me, where can I take a bath? The young female was startled by Dilly's suddenly coming up to her. Yow. She's skinny as a ghost. Especially when she saw Dilly's overly large, round eyes. She started shaking even more. A stinky, musty wind finally blew in. The young female pinched her nose. Her eyebrows were practically touching. Her mate quickly pulled her behind him. Dilly's had no idea what was going on. Was she really that scary? The cold-blooded snake beast Dilly's forced out a pitiful expression. But to the young female, she looked even meaner. Dilly's blinked her eyes. The young female stayed silent. She walked away with her head down, disappointed. Did everyone hate snake beasts this much? She was being really friendly. Dilly's whipped her head around and flashed what she thought was a very friendly smile. It's just that on a snake beast's face, it looked a little sinister. The young female shuddered again. She pointed in a direction. Her voice was tiny. There's a river over there. Dilly's happily ran off. The upstream is. The snake was already gone. The young female wasn't sure if she should finish. That river is where the males bathe. Tylos zipped after her. The wind from his rush messed up the young female's hair. The young female exchanged a look with her mate. This family sure is impatient. You can't blame Dilly's. Dilly's had lived in the wild for 2 years of her snake life. She only knew that bathing just needed water. How was she supposed to know the tribe had separate bathing spots for males and females? So when Dilly's reached that little river, and, thinking she was clever, went upstream to find clean water, she saw a tall, muscular guy with a V-shaped build bathing in the river. Dilly stood by the river looking a mess, not knowing what was going on. She just stared at him blankly. She looked like a total creep. Even though he was super buff, his face looked like a just-grown male. His features were delicate and young. He had shoulder-length, slightly wavy black hair, with a streak of white hidden in his bangs. Lore was stunned too. He had just come of age and shifted today. He was just curious, so he shifted into human form and went to the river to try bathing as a human. And then, his face turned bright red. He quickly turned around to cover what the creep wanted to see. He was about to turn and warn Dilly's about something. But then he saw Dilly staring with wide eyes, not blinking, fixed on him. Then her gaze slowly drifted down. Lore yelped. He fell, totally embarrassed. Water splashed up in the river. Tylos arrived just in time. He covered Dilly's eyes with one hand and led his little cabbage away from the scene. No, wait. His little snake needs a bath. Tylos came back and swatted Lore away with his tail. He cleared the junk out of the river, then gently placed Dilly's in the water. Dilly's was totally confused. Where'd that guy go? Tylos smiled. He's gone. Meanwhile, a black eagle flew off screeching. It looked like it had a patch of white fur on its head. Something felt off. But Dilly's didn't feel like worrying about it. She soaked in the water and took a nice bath. Beastmen don't need soap or anything to get clean. Soon Dilly's was clean and climbed out of the river. Tylos thoughtfully brought her a change of clothes. A little crop top. A skirt that went to mid-thigh. When she spun around, it even flared out like a flower. And a pair of little panties. Clothes made from shed snakeskin were cool to wear. And the little panties were cool too. Tylos watched the little clothes made from his own shed skin as Dilly's put them on between her legs. His eyes darkened. Dilly's flipped her hair and walked out happily. She even reached back to pull Tylos along. But the moment she grabbed him, she was yanked down hard and fell into a cool embrace. Tylos's tail wrapped tightly around Dilly's lower body. His mouth covered hers. His snake tongue slipped inside. Then he rolled with Dilly's into the water. Wait. Sure, she could breathe underwater. But in broad daylight, no way. Tylos didn't care about that. He wrapped Dilly's up tight with his snake tail again. This time, he could finally press her back and pull her into his arms. When Dilly's realized she was locked in by Tylos, she finally stopped struggling. It was done. Time to go with the flow. Just enjoy it. But could someone tell her why snake mating took a whole day and night? And the actual act took a whole day and night too? That night, Dilly's was carried home. Tylos wrapped her up tight again. It wasn't until the next afternoon that Tylos finally finished. By then, Dilly's hadn't eaten in 2 days. Dilly's was so glad she was a snake. Eat once, last 2 days. It was the only way to handle Tylos's insane mating time. Otherwise, 9 lives wouldn't be enough. Dilly's stomach growled with hunger. She slowly woke up. When she opened her eyes, a blackened red snake head was hovering above her. Its tongue flicked across her face. Dilly's rubbed the snake head and climbed out of bed. Wait! Bed! Dilly's jumped up with a start. She looked down at the bed beneath her feet. It was just a pile of soft hay. But making it comfortable took skill. It had to be soft, thick, and big enough. She thought about how long it had been since she'd slept on a real bed. Dilly's was totally moved by this hay bed. Nice! Big hero. Let me see which craftsman is so talented. Tylos reluctantly admitted that the bed was made by No. Right now, No was grilling meat in the yard. When Dilly's went outside, No seemed lost in thought. The meat in his hand was almost falling into the fire. It had been a whole day and night. No thought, feeling heartbroken. Tylos was strong and attentive. He could save Dilly's life. But No was the exact opposite. A weak blue-striped beastman. A careless beastman who was saved by Dilly's. Dilly's probably looked down on him, right? She already had such a great male like Tylos. She probably wouldn't give him a second glance. Then No suddenly felt like he was being greedy. He only wanted to protect Dilly's for life. But now he was greedy enough to want her to like him. He couldn't be that greedy. What he had now was enough. Dilly's got into a starting pose. Then, like a rocket, she leaped onto No's back. Her arms wrapped tightly around his neck. Like a tiger hunt, No was caught off guard. He let her momentum pull him to the ground. Dilly's wrapped her legs around him too, locking him in tight. No's mood instantly lifted. He let out a cheerful laugh, dropped the meat, and flipped over, pinning Dilly's beneath him. He was about to play around with her, but got smacked away again by a certain snake Beastman's tail. The snake husband is way too jealous. What do you do when he keeps pulling domestic moves? Waiting online. Urgent. At least it wasn't her getting hit. Dilly scurried back. She wrapped her arms and legs around Tylos and started planting kisses all over his face. She secretly smeared drool all over him. No. Don't blame me for ignoring you. I'm saving your life. Outside the yard, No was lying on his back, laughing goofily. It's nice. Dilly's does care about him. Just then, the tribe's gathering horn sounded. Each family had to send one member to the square in the center of the tribe. Dilly's was super excited about group activities like this. So she grabbed a leg of lamb and munched on it as she and Tylos headed to the square. No wisely gave them some alone time. He stayed behind to guard the house. The best part about not being able to shift is not having to walk. Dilly's was happy to be a lazy bum. She climbed down from Tylos's arms and walked while gnawing on a leg of lamb as long as her arm. That's right. One hand holding a lamb leg the size of an arm. And she could swing it around easily. Lore, on his first patrol shift, looked down at Dilly's. From the moment she left the house to the square, Dilly's devoured a whole lamb leg in record time. Lore was shocked. Is this really a female? Tylos pulled out another lamb leg from his reverse scale. Dilly's kept eating. Lore started to doubt himself. Aren't females supposed to be delicate, soft, and sweet? With tiny appetites and always whining? Dad didn't lie to him, right? Lore landed nervously in the crowd. He instinctively landed not far from Dilly's. His eyes still couldn't believe it, staring at the lamb leg in Dilly's hands. Oh, so that little eagle with the white patch on its head was him. Dilly's took a vicious bite of the lamb, seeing Lore still staring at her. She, with a face full of grease, stared right back without a care. That eagle pursed his lips, frowned, and quietly looked away. I've gotta ask her which tribe she's from later. Mainly to avoid trouble. The square was packed with beastmen. Dilly's had just come of age and wasn't fully grown yet. A poor 1.8 meters tall among all those males, she was at risk of getting trampled. She looked around. She saw plenty of females being carried on males' shoulders to watch the fun. Dilly's tugged at Tylos. Dilly's was wearing a long dress that went down to her ankles today, so she couldn't straddle her legs. So she sat on Tylos's right shoulder, holding the lamb leg in her right hand, and propping her left elbow on Tylos's head for balance. Watching the excitement, she had a sudden idea. She patted Tylos's head higher. Tylos silently did as she asked. In the end, only a short section of his snake tail touched the ground. Dilly's looked around. Nice. The view is amazing. Even the air feels fresher. The beastmen around stared in amazement at their snake pillar, over 10 meters tall. Tylos kept a cool, beautiful face. Ignoring all the stares, Dilly's enjoyed the piece up high, with only one shoulder to sit on. Dilly's had to keep her balance, arching her slender waist and sitting crookedly, unintentionally showing off her mature, perfectly proportioned waist-to-hip ratio. Her long legs dangled carelessly, pretty tempting for any beastman. She looked especially beautiful, like a goddess high above. The result of this little incident was that many females started a height competition. They believed the higher they stood, the prettier they were. Some rode tigers, some rode bears, and some even sat right on the beasts' heads. Bet you can't stand 10 meters tall too. Ha ha. Dilly suddenly felt better. Even the lamb leg she was tired of eating tasted good again. But clearly some females were smarter. They rode eagles circling in the sky. The wind blew their hair back. The young females let out happy shouts. Those eagles reminded Dilly's of the mix-up a few days ago. She accidentally saw a young eagle beastman bathing. Thinking of that, her gaze instinctively fell on him. Lore flinched and quickly hid behind the other eagle beastman. Oh no! He got caught staring at a female. Tylos stiffened his tail, giving off a cold vibe. Dilly's quickly turned and gave Tylos a big kiss to comfort him, and didn't look at Lore anymore. Sure enough, the snake's tail started wagging happily again. On the high platform in the square, Chief Ape Beastman Hutulu walked slowly forward in a red robe, announcing the tribe's salt trading trip in 3 days. Mated families should decide among themselves which male will join the group. Of course, they could send more than one. The chief was happy with that. Single beastmen would compete, picking out the strongest few dozen beastmen. The competition starts tonight. Females can come watch too. If you like someone, you can take them home. Then came the issue of managing the group. The chief announced the team rules as usual and introduced the team leader for this trip, the Wolf Clan chief. That's when Delis found out Cthulhu wasn't the tribe's only chief. Under him were the chiefs of the main Beastman races, who were like deputy chiefs. The great heat season in the beast world was scorching. 2 years ago, she'd just crossed over and knew nothing, and went out hunting during the great heat like an idiot. Ended up shedding her snake skin and getting several cracked patches of skin. Her whole body hurt for days. Going out during the great heat is pretty dangerous. Of course, females originally from the North Sea can come along with the group to visit your families in the North Sea, but bring a few extra mates to make sure you're well taken care of on the journey. A trip to the North Sea, a guided tour. Of course the snake is going. Anyone decided on the North Sea can sign up now. Signing up was really just leaving a handprint, with no other ID marks at all. There were thousands of female families alone. Dillies looked at the 8 beastmen who Tulu and really wondered if he could remember them all. When it was Dillies' turn to sign up, Cthulhu stopped her. Female, I remember you said you were born in the Eastern Forest. I'm going home with him. Dillies pointed at Tylos and lied without flinching. Cthulhu just smiled and said nothing, staring hard at Tylos. Tylos stared right back. One had no expression. The other was gentle and refined. They seemed to do and say nothing. But Dillies got the feeling they were fighting with their eyes. Cthulhu's smile suddenly widened. I agree to let your mate join the group. The Wolf Clan chief stepped forward. Chief? Cthulhu raised a hand to stop him and smiled. The sacred female deserves special treatment. Dillies' expression froze. She quickly glanced around. But everything seemed normal. None of the beasts reacted to hearing those words. How could they not hear it? Cthulhu's voice was clearly loud. Don't worry, little female. They can't hear us, Cthulhu said slowly, still wearing a smile. If Dillies were in snake form, then Cthulhu would definitely see her flared scales and threatening fangs. This 8 beastmen is too dangerous? Seeing Dillies and Tylos off, Cthulhu watched their backs and said to the Wolf Clan chief behind him, this female is good. You can have your son pursue her. Make her loyal to us. The Wolf Clan chief nodded. They left the registration area. Dillies asked Tylos why Cthulhu could make it so the other beastmen couldn't hear them. It's the 8 beastmen's ability. 8 beastmen are different from other beastmen. They're very smart. They use something called mental power. That power can do almost anything. Legend says the beast god admired the 8 beastmen's intelligence and gave them this unique ability. But to keep the balance of power among beastmen, he took away their ability to turn into beast form. If other beastmen's attacks are physical, then the 8 beastmen's attacks are magical. Their mental power can even become solid, forming a defensive barrier, or turning into a blade to attack. There's nothing mental power can't do if you can imagine it. Basically, they're a race that fights with imagination. Low-level beastmen are completely under their control. High-level beastmen, while not completely immune to their attacks, can block more and more as their level increases. Dillies thought about it. Almost anything? Then why haven't they taken over the world by now? Dillies was totally freaked out. That ability is way too unfair. Tylos held Dillies and rubbed her head. If 8 beastmen use their power too much, they get dumber. At least they have a limit on their mana. But to avoid being threatened later, they still needed to get stronger fast. The great heat season's temperature was no joke. Even though Dillies picked the coolest spot to settle down, it was still hot enough to make her roll around. Even though Tylos had already turned grayscaled and broken the rule that snakes have to hibernate, he still couldn't escape the brutal heat of the great heat season. Tylos was listless inside the house. Now that they're all like this, wouldn't going to the North Sea be even worse? Dillies was starting to have second thoughts. But she still really wanted to go. Kino knew more about these tribe activities, so Dillies just asked him, is the North Sea fun? Kino remembered the days when the Oak Tribe's hunting team went to the North Sea, and his expression darkened. Just as he was about to speak, Dillies got up from the bed. Hunting. Let's go hunt a fierce beast. Kino's in a bad mood, so taking him to kill a fierce beast will cheer him up. Dillies was also eager to get stronger now. For some reason, she was especially wary of Cthulhu. He was too much like a certain type of human who smiles but hides their true intentions. South of the Nuxer tribe was the famous Central Forest. Like other forests, the higher-level fierce beasts preferred to live deep in the forest. It was too hot at noon. So in the late afternoon, Dilly's finally went hunting with Kino. Tylos hated the heat. And since he was the one who hunted yesterday, today he voluntarily gave the two beasts some alone time. The rules of a Beastman family didn't need to be spoken. Male Beastmen all had a sense of balance. And when they formed a family, they naturally followed the family's rules, like dividing up labor and hunting, taking care of the female, and participating in tribe group activities. They would take the initiative based on fair distribution. Hot. Dilly's barely looked up at the sky. It really was just one sun. So why did it feel like 10 suns worth of heat? She lay limply on No's back. No felt really bad for her. Dilly's, let's head back. No. Dilly's lay flat on No's tiger back. To make hunting easier, she'd switched to a short skirt. Now her legs were spread, her whole body draped over No. Her feet dangled on either side, listlessly, swinging back and forth with No's every step. Dilly's patted the tiger's head. Hurry up. Hold on tight. No started running as told. A breeze brushed Dilly's cheeks, but it was wrapped in a wave of heat. With no way to cool down, Dilly's only got more irritable. When they reached the tribe's main gate, the guards couldn't help staring at Dilly's. Female, it's best not to leave the tribe in this heat. You could get sunburned easily. The guard warned her kindly. Females usually stay inside during the great heat season, because the temperature is way too high. Without proper protection, you can get sunburned easily. Or even dehydrated. Dilly's buried her face in No's fur, already completely wilted from the heat. Let me out, I need to cool off. Lore, who had just started his shift yesterday, quickly spotted Dilly's at the gate today. This female had left a pretty wild impression on him. So Lore was paying extra close attention to Dilly's. Cool off. The forest is even hotter than the tribe's houses. Female, I suggest you go home now. Otherwise, you'll get sunburned easily. Plus, there are plenty of wild beasts and monsters in the forest. Bringing just one mate is too dangerous. Even though No specifically put Dilly's under the big tree by the tribe's gate to cool off, Dilly still got way too much sun. She lay on No's back and turned her face sideways. Her thin little cheeks, she somehow managed to puff out a bit. Lore tilted his head, looking kind of cute. Dilly's irritably tugged at his tiger fur, tossing her head back and forth. Let me out. I need to cool off. I can't take it anymore. The lead beastman gave in to Dilly's and compromised. He waved at Lore, who was standing on the wall. Lore flew down and shifted into human form. Dilly's greeted him. Her confident attitude reminded Lore of what happened that day. And he couldn't help blushing. Captain, you're in charge of protecting this female's safety. The lead beastman was doing Lore a favor. Lore had come of age in the last few years. The most talented among the Eagle Beastmen. As a fellow Eagle Beastman and the leader, he naturally hoped the tribe's strongest would have offspring soon. Lore didn't get the leader's good intentions. Thinking about how Dilly's ate that lamb leg the other day, he felt this female was just way too unlikable. Lore the Beastman refused. Wait, who just thought Dilly's was cute? Teenage beasts sure are fickle. Dilly's quickly reached out and grabbed Lore's hand, not giving him a chance to back out. Thanks for looking out for me. A free-flying ride, why not take it? Dilly's had always wanted to try flying. Lore instantly turned red. He yanked his hand back, turned around, and his shoulders shook. Dilly's smile turned mean. She suddenly got a kick out of teasing him. Clearly, this snake forgot she was only 2 years old. No, wait. She lived 20 years in her past life. So mentally, she was definitely an older sister. Once outside the tribe, Dilly's climbed down from No. She called Lore down from the sky. Lore came down reluctantly. Dilly's flashed a perfect 8-tooth smile. I want to fly. Lore stiffened up. No. Eagle Beastmen can only carry their mates. Dilly's smile dropped. After a moment, she put it back on. Fight me. If I win, you have to take me flying. No. Lore reacted even more strongly. Females are too fragile. I might kill you. Dilly's smile widened. That's not certain. Don't cry if I beat you. Lore was at a loss with her. If he actually hurt the little female, the chief would kill him when they got back. So Lore reluctantly said, I'll just take you flying. Dilly's finally got to fly. Ha ha. Dilly screamed in the air. Lore flew fast. He sped up on purpose to scare the female. That way, she wouldn't ask him to take her again. But the faster he flew, the more she laughed. Faster really is cooler. Dilly's just stood right up on Lore's back. She planted her hands on her hips, looking proud. Faster! Lore was terrified when he saw Dilly's stand up. Female, sit down, or you'll fall. Dilly's wasn't scared of a little thing like that. Lore broke out in a cold sweat. But he couldn't grab her and make her sit down while flying. All he could do was keep as steady as possible, then slowly descend. Don't go down. Dilly sat on his neck and tapped his bird head. Lore was totally freaked out by this bold female. If she actually fell, forget the chief. Her mates would eat him alive. Kino was watching everything Lore and Dilly's did from the ground. When he saw Dilly's even stand up on Lore's back, Kino's tiger eyes went wide with fear. He was so anxious his front paws left the ground. Seeing he couldn't help from down there, Kino started pacing in circles. Dilly's looked down from the sky and thought Kino was bored. She leaned over Lore and called to him. No, go hunt first. I'll fly a little longer. Seeing how happy she was, Kino slowly relaxed. Oh well, Dilly's is a green striped snake beast after all. This height is nothing. Kino had been a little jealous that an eagle beast had taken his mate. But seeing Dilly so happy flying, all right, that eagle beast suddenly didn't look so bad. But Kino didn't have much to complain about. Life was already pretty happy now. A tiger's roar came from the ground. Dilly's grabbed Lore's feathers and looked down again. A white tiger ran cheerfully into the forest, probably off to hunt. Dilly's rolled over on the eagle's back, lying face up. It was still hot, but way better than on the ground. So nice. Dilly's let out a long sigh. She pointed a finger and gave orders. Little eagle, go that way. Lore snorted through his beak, like he was showing his annoyance. He followed where Dilly's was pointing, shook his eagle head like a rattle. Dilly's thought he was scared to go deep into the forest. Oh well, what could you expect from a little green striped eagle? Dilly's was understanding and let Lore set her down at the forest entrance. On the ground, Dilly's stretched. Lore stood nearby, on guard for beasts. He wasn't worried about attacks from wild animals or monsters. He was mainly worried about the female getting hurt. He looked around. All clear. He turned his head. Where's the female? Where'd that big female go? In the forest. An eagle beast with white feathers on its head flapped its wings, pacing frantically. Gotta stay calm at a time like this. Lore shifted into human form. Eagle beasts have a weak sense of smell, but it's good enough to find other beastmen. He sniffed around and finally picked a direction. Lore quickly went after her. Even though she couldn't shift, Dilly's human form wasn't useless. The trees in the beast world were huge. There were lots of vines in the forest, and they were strong. While Lore wasn't looking, Dilly swung away on a vine. The cool wind hit her face, and Dilly's finally felt alive again. The scenery blurred as she zipped through the trees. Right then, Dilly's felt like a wild hunter. She couldn't help but howl. Ignoring the low-level beasts at the forest's edge, Dilly's headed deeper in. Before long, she spotted an orange-striped killer rabbit. Dilly's pounced and sank her claws right through its neck. She crouched down and flipped the rabbit over. She didn't care about getting dirty. She'd done this plenty of times. With her claws half shifted, Dilly's tore open the rabbit's belly, pulled out the guts, and cleaned it out. That's what Lore saw when he caught up. Dilly's was squatting on the ground, hands covered in blood, dripping every now and then. She was grinning, holding up a bloody stone. Why did he suddenly feel bad for that rabbit? Sure, the males did the same thing when they hunted, but this was really hard to look at. Lore walked over stiffly. When she saw him, Dilly's tossed him the stone. Here's your payment. Before he could even get over how tough Dilly's was, Lore felt insulted. He solemnly shoved the orange crystal back to her. A male can't take things from a female. No. Why not take it? Dilly's quickly shoved the orange crystal into her mouth. Lore's eyes went wide. Wait, aren't females supposed to be super clean? That thing was dirty. Outdoor survival pro Dilly's says. A little dirt never hurt anyone. She stood up and kept hunting. And that young adult Lore Beastman had already seen too much and was frozen in shock. The woman was a cold-blooded female snake beastman. No matter how cold-blooded, her rectum was still warm. And her snake husband was born with two. Every time she mated with him for a whole day and night, all she felt was a burning pain in her rear. Finally getting to go hunting, Dilly's totally let loose, either riding the eagle beast like flying a plane, or swinging on vines racing 8 beasts. The shy eagle beast lost sight of Dilly's in no time. Lore sniffed around, finally picked a direction and hurried after her. Dilly's headed deeper in. Before long, she spotted an orange-striped killer rabbit. She pounced hard and sank her claws right through its neck. She crouched down and flipped the rabbit over. She didn't care about getting dirty. She'd done this plenty of times. With her claws half shifted, Dilly's tore open the rabbit's belly, pulled out the guts, cleaned out the insides. When Lore caught up, this is what he saw. Dilly's crouched on the ground. Her hands were covered in blood, dripping every now and then. She was holding a bloody orange crystal and grinning like an idiot. Why did he suddenly feel bad for that rabbit? Sure, the males did the same thing when they hunted, but this was really hard to look at. Lore walked over stiffly. When she saw him, Dilly's tossed him the orange crystal. Here. Your payment. Before he could even get over how tough Dilly's was, Lore felt insulted. He solemnly shoved the orange crystal back to her and said firmly, a male can't take things from a female. No. Why not take it? Dilly's quickly shoved the orange crystal into her mouth. Lore's eyes went wide. Wait. Aren't females supposed to be super clean? That just came out. It's really dirty. Outdoor survival pro Dilly's says. A little dirt never hurt anyone. She stood up and kept hunting. And that young adult Lore Beastman had already seen too much and was frozen in shock. Then Dilly's got ambushed by a green-striped snake. Lore reacted first. He was startled. He was about to help Dilly's, but Dilly's just reached out, grabbed the snake right behind the head. Snap! The snake was done for. Dilly's pulled a green crystal out of the snake's belly. Then she ate it. Lore's jaw dropped. He felt totally useless. Besides flying around to keep Dilly's entertained, he was good for nothing. Shaken to the core, Lore forgot how dangerous the deep forest was. He dazedly followed Dilly's. He knew what he could do for her. After all, he was just a weak green stripe. And Dilly's, she could snap a green stripe's neck just like that. Suddenly feeling a chill on his neck. What now? Lore obediently followed a few more steps. Dilly's stopped. He sniffed around. She signaled Lore to climb a tree. Then she nimbly climbed one herself. Poor Lore still hadn't wrapped his head around the fact that a female could kill a green striped snake with her bare hands. He dumbly climbed the same tree as Dilly's. Dilly's gave him a blank look. Those newborn owl chicks that look totally clueless? Big eyes. Big confusion. Just staring. Lore's brainpower right now wasn't much better than an owl chick's. Dilly smacked him on the head. We're hunting. Use your brain. Lore just went, oh. Even though hunting in human form was awkward, and her combat ability dropped, learning more skills was never a bad thing. So Dilly's was happy to hunt in human form. She wasn't afraid of Lore finding out she was a sacred female. If he ever showed signs of turning on her, Dilly's would just snap. Take him out. A wild boar slowly wandered out of the bushes. Then a second one came out. A third. A fourth. The first one was twice the size of No. The rest were only as big as No. It was a mama pig taking her piglets for a walk. But 11 pigs. The mama was a green stripe. The piglets were all below green stripe. Too many of them. And their levels were a bit high. Plus, she couldn't shift. Dilly's thought it was a challenge. She crouched in the tree, quietly watching the boars, thinking of a plan. Even though Lore's level was lower than the mama pig's, Lore wasn't panicking. He could fly. If he couldn't win, he'd just run. He wanted to run. But it looked like the female wasn't planning to escape. She seemed ready to fight. Lore felt uneasy. He was afraid the female would get herself killed. He turned his head. The female was staring at the boar herd, deep in thought. He'd never really looked before. But now that he did, the female actually looked really pretty when she was focused. Pale skin, big, clear eyes, long eyelashes. He'd heard she was from the snake clan, so she had tiny round nostrils at the corners of her eyes. If you didn't look closely, you'd think they were little moles. See that green striped piglet? Turn into an eagle. Go down and grab it. Lift it into the sky and drop it to kill it. I'll take out that sow. Dilly's grabbed Lore's arm and pointed at the pigs on the ground. Whoever kills it gets the crystal. More work, more reward, right? Dilly's looked at him with bright eyes. Lore didn't even hear what she was saying. His face red. He just mumbled dumbly. Dilly's was speechless. She slapped him again. We're hunting. Wake up. Lore finally snapped out of it. He nodded hard. Dilly's felt like she couldn't trust him anymore. Was this daydreaming eagle really reliable? Move fast. If the sow spots you first, I won't be able to strike. Lore nodded goofily again. Fine. If he failed, she'd just run off on her own. Forget this dumb bird. Lore finally caught on. Wait. No, wait. Dilly's was a female. Hunting alone was dangerous. He was about to stop her. But Dilly started a fast countdown. 3. Go. Dilly's jumped down first. Lore, forced into it, quickly followed. He sped up his descent, spread his wings to shield Dilly's before the sow noticed. His talons grabbed a piglet, the only green-striped one, and flew into the sky. Plus, his huge body blocked Dilly's, so the sow locked onto Lore as her target. She was about to bite down. But then Dilly's landed on her back. Dilly struck with her claws, going for the sow's eyes with both hands. The sow screamed and rolled on the ground, trying to crush Dilly's. Dilly's jumped off just in time, dodging the sow's weight attack, but not the charge of the piglets. By then, Lore had grabbed a green-striped piglet and flown up. He watched Dilly's getting swarmed below, worried, and sped up his climb to drop the piglet faster, so he could help her. Dilly's did a side somersault, dodging a piglet's attack. She climbed a nearby tree, and the piglets charged after her. The sow let out a loud roar, and all the piglets froze. The forest went silent. Dilly's raised an eyebrow. Oh, so she can track by sound, huh? Lore let out an eagle cry from the sky. The boars instinctively looked up. The sow's hearing was thrown off. Perfect. Dilly's used the same trick, leaping down from the tree. But the piglets were ready for it, and shoved the sow out of the way, leaving themselves exposed to Dilly's claws. What touching motherly love. But Dilly's was only touched for a second. She struck with her claws and ripped off that piglet's head. The sow charged too late. Dilly's flipped out of the way again. Another eagle cry. Lore was already over 300 feet up. He let go of the piglet, aimed at the sow below, and dropped his prey. Down on the ground, a piglet shoved the sow aside again, leaving itself exposed to the falling object. Another piglet was crushed to death. The sow's cries grew even more anguished. She started charging wildly. Dilly's deliberately made noise, luring the sow to ram straight into thick tree trunks. The piglets followed close behind, crashing into them one after another, taking advantage of their chaotic formation. Lore snatched another piglet and smashed it to death. The boars grew angrier and angrier, and started ramming the trees recklessly. Dilly swung from vine to vine through the forest, patiently toying with the boars for a while. After Lore killed the last piglet, the whole boar family was finally wiped out. Dilly's jumped down from the tree, her body covered in boar blood. The stench of the kill was everywhere. Dilly's held her breath. She really couldn't stand the assault of that smell. Lore had killed 6 piglets by dropping them. Dilly's had worn down the sow and crushed the other 4 piglets. She went to sort through her share of the prey. Lore stood there dumbfounded, not moving. Dilly's ignored him and kept digging through the kill on her own. Are you really a female? Lore was genuinely shocked. Dilly's, who had just been squatting with her legs apart gutting a pig, froze. She bared her teeth at Lore fiercely. What's the matter? Never seen a female who can butcher a pig. Lore wisely shut up. He quickly went back to handling his own kill. Today he caught 11 pigs. Dilly's, who rarely tried to be thrifty, really couldn't bear to leave any of them behind. Beast meat. Eating it helps you level up. After swallowing that green crystal just now, Dilly's felt like her power was about to explode. That was a sign she was about to level up. Of course, leveling up so fast was also thanks to the purple crystal Tylos gave her. Once she leveled up, she wouldn't be able to leave for days. Dilly's really wanted to bring one of the kills home. She wanted that sow. Dilly's grabbed it by the back leg and tugged. Sure enough, she couldn't budge it in human form, so she gave up. She picked through the piglets' bodies, but in the end, the sow still tempted her. Green stripes. Seeing how much Dilly's wanted it, Lore's brain short-circuited somehow. He puffed out his chest and said he'd get the kill back. Dilly's perked up immediately. She eagerly helped Lore expose the sow's spine, so when Lore shifted, he'd have something to grip. So a few hours later, at the entrance of the Nuxer tribe, the returning beast saw a young eagle, carrying a kill twice his size, flying back all crooked. It was more like dragging the kill than flying. Lore flapped his wings hard, his eagle head straining upward. But the kill just wouldn't lift off. Nearby, a female with big eyes, riding a white tiger, was cheering the eagle on. Captain, Captain, see? Lore brought back a green-striped beast. The captain rubbed his eyes, thinking he was seeing things. Oh, it really is a green-striped beast. The eagle beasts crowded around. Lore, did you catch this? You actually beat a green-striped beast? That's amazing. Lore blushed. Actually, this is. And thanks to Lore for giving me his kill. Dilly's cut in quickly. Simple Lore's brain short-circuited again. He was about to deny it. When Dilly's tossed him an orange crystal, she tossed her head with a cool smile. Thanks for the gift. Lore caught the crystal, stunned. No had a snake in his left hand, a wild boar dragging from his right, and a deer on his back. He walked into the tribe loaded down and headed home. The eagle beasts were still chattering around Lore. Ho! Lore actually gave a kill to that snake tribe female. Do you like her? Lore's gonna court someone. Lore's face got redder and redder. Then it hit him. Oh no. I don't even know her name. A female who can take down a whole boar pack on her own. She's so strong. Would she think I'm too weak? Eagle Boy is already feeling down. Dilly's got home and swallowed all the low-level beast crystals in one go. She told Tylos and no, and started rolling around on the ground, knowing Dilly's was about to level up. No stood guard outside the door. He also started making dinner. Tylos hates fire. When No cooks, he won't step foot in the yard. So he stayed inside to watch Dilly's level up. By now, Dilly's had painfully shifted into her snake form. She felt like she'd swollen up 10 pounds. Her whole body felt heavy and bloated. Her skin was stretched tight and hurt. It felt like it was about to split open. Dilly's rolled on the ground, her tail tightening every now and then, as if she was enduring some kind of pain. Even though Tylos had been through this many times, watching Dilly's suffer like this made him restless too. He shifted into human form, lifted Dilly's snake head onto his lap, and gently stroked her head. His silky long hair fell down round them. His expression was still calm, but Dilly's could feel his deep comfort. Feeling the cool, smooth texture of his hair, she finally started to relax. Her tail wrapped around Tylos's waist, and she was quiet for a while. No butchered the boar, roasted it piece by piece, and fed it to Dilly's while it was still hot. Dilly's ate half-heartedly. No knew how to take care of a female. He used a bamboo cup to hold warm water. When he saw Dilly's slow down her swallowing, he gave her a drink to help it go down. The temperature was just right for a snake. Tylos surprisingly didn't show hostility toward No. The two males shared the same roof. Dilly's thought to herself, this is truly satisfying. Dilly's was carefully taken care of all night. It was easily her most comfortable upgrade ever. After rolling around in the house for 2 days, Dilly's snake skin gradually became wrinkly. On the 3rd day at noon, she finally started to shed. Tylos went outside, giving Dilly's enough space. In the yard, under the hot sun, he and No stared each other down. Tylos, long black hair, pale skin, lean. No, short white hair, dark skin, muscular. The two beasts looked at each other seriously, but inside they were both roasting each other. So ugly. How could the little snake like him? Cold and aloof. How could Dilly's like that thing? Dilly's had no shame. She liked them all. Thanks. Over on the city wall, an eagle beast lay sadly on the platform, covering his head painfully with both wings. 3 days. He hadn't seen that female in 3 days. Every day, females went out in the morning or evening to play in the flower fields, or went for rides with eagle beasts. He'd seen almost every female in the tribe, but not Dilly's. What's wrong with Dilly's? Did something happen to her? Spit, spit, spit. The eagle beast pecked hard at the platform a few times. Jinx, how can you curse a female like that? But why isn't she coming out? Does she think I'm too weak and doesn't want to see me? The eagle beast slammed his head into the ground. Thump, thump, thump. The other eagle beastmen on the platform stared at Roll oddly. Lore, maybe you should see the tribe healer. Roll shook his head sadly. Half-beast form. He can't fix me. The beastmen below the city wall gasped. Look. It's that snake tribe female. The snake tribe female is so beautiful. She's the most beautiful female I've ever seen. Roll sprang to his feet. The beastmen on the road parted to make way. Roll's eyes went wide. Her smooth black hair fell to her waist. Pale skin. Delicate, slender eyebrows. Big, innocent eyes. A pair of nostrils like beauty marks at the corners of her eyes. Her human form nose was also lovely. Roll's heart beat faster and faster. Dilly's figure had gotten even better. What used to be little buns had now grown into full mounds. Dilly's was wearing a halter dress that hugged her curves. It made her chest and hips look even fuller. Since she was riding a white tiger, she could only sit sideways. But that pose showed off her graceful curves even more. Her skin glowed white in the sunlight. She tossed her hair. Hearing something, she threw her head back and laughed, showing two rows of bright white teeth. Roll tumbled off the city wall. The other eagle beasts rushed to help him. He's got a nosebleed. He's burning up. Heat stroke. Go get the tribe healer. Today was the official departure day for the salt trading expedition. The square was packed with all the males heading to the North Sea. Only about a dozen females were going to the North Sea. Each was carried by her own male. Dilly's was no exception. Dilly's, the other males, who weren't carrying females, went to the chief to pick up supplies. They were tanned hides and smoked meat jerky. The team leaders were usually the strongest among the beastmen. They were in charge of keeping the beast crystals safe. The mainland tribes needed these goods to trade with the seaside tribes of the North Sea for salt and cured fish skins, along with other seafood. Of course, if they were lucky, they might even trade for a female from another tribe. After her today evolution period, Dilly successfully shed her skin and advanced to Blue Mark. When she woke up, there was only one day left before the salt expedition set out. She used her freshly shed snakeskin to make two pairs of shorts, each for No and Tylos. She turned the rest into shoulder bags, just like everyone used in her past life. Dilly's carried one herself. Tylos carried one. And No wore one around his neck in his beast form. Tylos didn't have much luggage. All his belongings were stored in his reverse scale. His reverse scale space was huge. Anything smaller than the opening of the scale could fit inside. Of course, Dilly's travel luggage could also be stored in there. But Dilly's refused. Was this shoulder bag really for carrying stuff? This is the spirit of travel. To keep the ritual of traveling alive, Dilly's tried hard to find something useful to put in her bag. Like clothes. But clothes aren't used often, so she stuffed them into Tylos's reverse scale. Like beast crystals. She ate them all. No, I'm not. Like salt. No brought some. Water pouch. No brought that too. Like, never mind. In the end, Dilly's carried an empty bag and rode No to the square. Since Dilly's was one of the few females in this salt trading party, she stood at the very front with the other females. With her looks and outfit, Dilly's managed to grab everyone's attention. But with Tylos and his gray stripes around, no beast dared to openly stare at Dilly's. The females, though, weren't afraid. Ever since Dilly's reached the front of the line, she noticed a small group of females not far away, whispering to each other. She couldn't hear a word the ape chief was saying on stage. Actually, no. To be precise, the other three females were just flattering. The one with sea blue curly hair in the middle. Dilly, your hair is as beautiful as the ocean. Mine is all frizzy. How do you take care of it? Dilly flipped her flowing waves. Born with it. Dilly, your skin is as white as a newborn baby's. How does she do it? Dilly gently touched her own face. Born with it. Dilly's got annoyed. Wow, can't you compliment me some other time? Why right now? Dilly's really wanted to hear what the ape chief was saying. After all, this was the North Sea group tour. She was really looking forward to it, okay? Dilly's was getting annoyed by the noise. So she started mimicking the three young females with exaggerated expressions. She sat sideways on No's back. Tylo stood beside No, acting as her backrest. Just an ordinary tiger ride, but Dilly's made it look all twisted and flirty. This caught Dilly's attention. She walked over and looked Dilly's up and down. Her gaze stopped at Dilly's chest. She couldn't help puffing out her own chest. Are you new here? Dilly asked with a frown, still with that superior tone. Dilly's looked at her for a couple of seconds, seeing Dilly staring at her like a proud peacock. She silently turned her head away. She didn't say my name. Who knows who she's talking to? Dilly was speechless. But since the ape chief was speaking, she didn't make a scene. The salt trading group officially set off. Each squad was led by a high-level beastman. The females were all grouped together in one squad for convenience, led by the wolf clan chief. This year, the wolf chief's son Rachel was also in the group. He was a young gray wolf with green markings, just 1 year into adulthood. Dilly's couldn't help but marvel. No wonder big tribes have so many talented people. It's so common to see green or blue markings right after adulthood. So competitive, so competitive. Dilly's was feeling pretty proud of herself for having green markings right after adulthood, thinking it was such a gift. But now, looking around, great. She's just a confident mess. The Great Flame season was way too hot. Dilly's woke up late that morning, and the group set out early. Afraid of being late, she skipped breakfast. She eats a lot as it is. Food is fuel, skip a meal and you feel it. Dilly's was so hungry her heart was racing. No carried her on his back. Tylos kept pulling jerky from his reverse scale to feed her. 1, 2, 3. It was like zookeepers feeding a penguin. Every now and then jerky is pretty tasty, chewy, and it passes the time. Dilly's ate for as long as the group walked. When they stopped to rest in the morning, the females were all gathered under the biggest, shadiest tree to cool off. At first, the females were excited, looking around everywhere. Now they were wilted from the sun, just quietly chugging water. The thoughtful males found all kinds of fruit for their mates. One kind looked just like a tiny watermelon, green on the outside, red on the inside, with seeds just like watermelon seeds. Except there were way too many. The thoughtful males picked out the seeds for their mates, one by one. And they actually enjoyed doing it. Dilly's was totally shocked. This. In modern times, they'd be the perfect boyfriends. Is this the privilege of being a rare species? Hiss. Where's her special? Dilly's, who loves to compare, instantly got all worked up. The timid female was eating watermelon. She couldn't handle Dilly's intense stare. She carefully offered her melon. Want a taste? Dilly's took the small watermelon. She said, "This doesn't feel right." How embarrassing. But her body was honest. The timid female looked speechless. Maybe check your own face before you talk. But just as she took it, a big hand grabbed the melon and gave it back. The melon she had in hand was gone. Dilly's was heartbroken. The next moment, a bigger half, already seeded, was placed in her hands by No. If Dilly's had a tail right now, she'd be thumping it on the ground like crazy. When the timid female saw her melon back, her smile was genuine. "I'm Arya. What's your name?" Dilly's opened her huge mouth wide. She took a big bite of the rind, then viciously tore it off. Arya looked confused. "Never mind." She quickly stripped half the watermelon bare. Dilly sat up straight in a second. She elegantly nibbled on the small melon, then replied gently, "Dilly's." After finishing a sweet fruit, Dilly's wiped the sweat off her face and looked outside. Every plant looked like a giant version of modern ones. Of course, Dilly's was also a giant version of a human. She was probably over 6 feet tall now. Soon she'd be on the same level as the other females. Dilly suddenly thought of something. She looked at Tylos and Ciano. Clearly, the two beasts were also on guard. On guard against that beast-eating jellyfish they'd encountered before. And the beast entangling vines. The reason they hadn't mentioned it to the Nuxter tribe was that they were afraid they wouldn't be believed. Of course, if during this salt trade, they encountered similar dangers, then it'd be easy. After all, there'd be witness beasts. Where were the sweet fruits picked? After eating all morning, Dilly still wasn't full. She decided to sneak off to a secluded place to feast. Ciano understood and led Dilly's to the sweet fruit picking spot. The weather was very hot. Although Tylos could handle heat better than Dilly's, he was still feeling irritable from the heat. But he didn't want to leave his mate. So he followed along. "Dilly's," Rachel called out to her. "The sun is very hot right now. You can't walk outside. You'll get sunburned." The one stopping her was a handsome young man with silver white hair, about 7 feet tall. Because Dilly's paid close attention to the wolf chief, she knew this was the wolf chief's son, Rachel. "It's okay. Snake tribe females are tough. Not afraid." Dilly showed him her slightly reddened arm. Rachel felt like he could smell the sweet scent of the female. Seeing Rachel's gaze still fixed on Dilly's arm, Tylos couldn't help but tighten his tail. The sun is so strong. Even Rachel can't stand it after a while. But Dilly's can handle it. Rachel had to admit the sacred female was tough. Just in case. "You should go back, female. If you want something to eat, have your mates pick it for you. Or if they won't, I can do it for you." Rachel wanted to just offer to help. But seeing Tylos's already tense tail and nose bared fangs, one with gray stripes, one with blue, he didn't dare take that risk. They'd been standing in the sun the whole time they talked. Dilly's already hated the heat, and being out in it too long really tested her patience. She was a little annoyed. "Thanks for your concern, Rachel. But I really want to check out the sweet fruit field. My mates will take care of me. Don't worry about it." Not sure what Rachel was really after, and wary because his father was the chief, Dilly's politely said goodbye and headed to the sweet fruit field. Sweet fruit grew on trees. The trees weren't tall, Dilly's could reach the top just by stretching out her hand. There were plenty of beastmen picking sweet fruit there, mostly for their own mates. Even though Dilly's liked eating plants, she was still a snake, and only meat made her feel full. Sweet fruit was just a dessert. She found a tree and sat down under it. Tylos brought out all their stored food and let Dilly's eat to her heart's content. Since they'd only joined the tribe recently, they hadn't been hunting for long, so they didn't have much stored food. And Dilly's ate as much as a male, so after she finished one meal, they barely had any food left. Oh no! Even finding food is a problem on this trip. Since they still had time before leaving, Tylos went hunting. Traveling during the great heat season meant water was scarce. And since Dilly's and Tylos were snake beastmen, they really hated the heat, so they needed a lot of water. But if he left, Dilly's wouldn't have a mate by her side. It's okay. Don't you believe in my strength? Even though he had no right to say it. If you don't have a mate around, a lot of other males will bother you. Dilly's flipped her hair and said proudly, I don't consider anyone below blue mark. Dilly's standards for a mate were simple. The basic requirement was someone stronger than her, someone who could conquer her. Kino felt a little disappointed. He didn't know why he was disappointed. Maybe it was because Dilly's words sounded pretty cold. Snakes are cold-blooded. As a powerful sacred female who could shapeshift, Dilly's would inherit that cold-bloodedness. Kino wasn't surprised at all. But knowing for sure that his mate didn't have deep feelings for him, Kino still felt a tightness in his chest. In the end, Kino went to get water. Dilly's was bored just sitting around, so she just leaned against the tree and pretended to nap. But as the saying goes, a full belly leads to other thoughts. Ahem. Eating makes you sleepy. It's the same for people and snakes. Before long, Dilly's was getting drowsy. She didn't dare fall asleep, of course. But her guard naturally dropped. A small eagle beast came flapping through the sky. He'd been out in the sun too long. And because he was low level with weak resistance, he was already steaming from the heat. Lore woke up at the tribe healer's place and rushed off to find Dilly's. He found out she'd left with the salt trading party, so he had to beg his father, the eagle chief. Sorry, he's another one with connections. In the beast world, the strong rule. Meaning, if you're strong enough, you get status in the tribe. Lore was only at the green mark level. He wasn't really qualified to join the salt trading party. But Lore promised his father that when he came back in 2 months, he'd definitely reach the blue mark. Actually, Lore was about 2 level up. The beast mark on his neck was already glowing. That's why his father reluctantly let him join. When Lore arrived, he saw Dilly's from afar, leaning against a tree and sleeping. A few males nearby were sneaking looks at her. One beastman was holding a sweet fruit, ready to approach. Lore got angry right away. Then he saw Dilly's was sweating all over from the heat, so he shifted into his beast form, ignoring the fact that he was already steaming from the sun, and ran over on his little short legs, spreading his wings to block all the sun for Dilly's. Her closed eyes went from seeing red to seeing black. The air around her had cooled down a lot. Dilly's opened her eyes. She saw an eagle beastman standing in front of her. The eagle had a tuft of white feathers on its head. Right now, the little eagle was standing at attention. His gaze was determined. If she didn't know he was blocking the sun for her, Dilly's would have thought he was saluting her. Dilly's watched Lore for a while, until the blush that had barely faded crept back up his cheeks. Lore was glad he was in beast form right now, or he'd be embarrassing himself in front of a female again. Dilly suddenly grabbed Lore's outstretched wing. She flipped it over and back, then lifted it up and put it down. Lore's mind went blank. He just let Dilly's mess with his wing. Lore's face was about to turn beet red. He felt his face was hotter than the sun. He wanted to pull his wing back, but was afraid of upsetting the female. He wanted to speak, but he couldn't talk in beast form. So simple Lore just let Dilly's do whatever she wanted. She'd part the feathers to look, then squeeze the wing to find the bones, then move it around like it was flying. Finally, she stopped. Dilly's nodded calmly. Then she sighed. Nature is amazing. Lore was confused. What's nature? This little thing can turn into something so cool and big. Lore, what are you doing here? Just then, Rachel came back holding a bunch of sweet fruits. He stood nearby and said. Lore put down his wings and hid behind a tree to turn into human form. He quickly put on his animal skin skirt. My father sent me to train. Rachel let out a light scoff. You don't look like you're training at all. You look more like you're courting. By then, Rachel had already handed The fruit to Dilly's. Lore ran out from behind the tree, not wanting to be outdone. He subtly stepped in front of Dilly's. What about you? You look like you're courting too. But Rachel didn't answer him. Instead, he said, we're heading into the northern forest in a few days. Lore, you're still just a green mark. Isn't the Eagle Chief afraid of losing his only child? Being looked down on like that in front of a female. No male could take it. Lore immediately started bickering with Rachel. As they bickered, the two kids started fighting. No explained to Dilly's. Don't worry when males fight. They're just showing off their strength to the female. Their fights usually only end in serious injuries. Of course, sometimes a male might accidentally kill the other. But that's very rare. In short, let the kids fight. She doesn't need to get involved. The sun was getting hotter. Only a few beastmen were left near the sweet fruit tree. Most picked a few and left. The one or two who stayed were just there to watch Dilly's. Dilly's watched the eagle and wolf fight with interest. Maybe she could pick up some fighting tips. But after who knows how long, when Dilly's finally looked around to check their surroundings, there were no beastmen left in the sweet fruit tree area. Except for the three of them. Wait, was that vine here just now? Dilly's didn't remember it being this close to Lore. She pretended not to notice anything, and started looking around. She noticed several other vines seemed to have moved too. She couldn't quite remember. After all, no beast would bother tracking where vines grow. She looked back. Sure enough, the first vine she'd noticed was a little closer to Lore now. Just then, No and Tylos came back one after another. Tylos swished his tail to shoo Lore and Rachel away. No had filled all the water skins, but Tylos only brought back a pouch of yellow crystals. No prey. Dilly's was startled. She quickly scanned the area and hurriedly hid Tylos's yellow crystals in his reverse scale. Where's the prey? Tylos shook his head. That area was taken over by ground plants. Dilly's instantly understood what he meant. Where did you get the yellow crystals? From the plants. Dilly's gasped in the hot air. This pouch had to have at least 200 crystals. Sure, yellow crystals were low grade, but they made up for it in numbers. Tylos didn't go hunting. He went to a brawl. They returned to the tribe's rest area. A few scout beastmen were reporting to the wolf chief. She didn't know what they said. The wolf chief's brow was deeply furrowed. Rachel was listening nearby too. He was clearly not as steady as his father. He was already asking all sorts of questions. Over at the females' rest area, several of the females were getting anxious. My mate still hasn't come back. Mine too. The snake tribe female was cold and distant. The other females were afraid of her. But their worry for their mates was stronger. One female still gathered the courage to ask Dilly's. Dilly's, has your snake mate seen a leopard beastman? He went hunting too. Dilly's looked at Tylos. Tylos shook his head. Dilly's, my mate went to pick sweet berries for me. He never came back. Dilly's was silent for a moment. She already had a pretty good idea. It had to be that beast entangling vine again. But she decided to keep it to herself. No, I'm not. The young female let out a no. Then went to ask other females. No and Tylos wisely stayed quiet. But No wasn't as calm as he looked. No grew up in the tribe. He was always raised as a candidate for chief. He'd had a strong sense of responsibility to the tribe since childhood. Even though he was just an ordinary beastman in Nuxor now. No still couldn't ignore that sense of duty. But now he was mated. He should consider Dilly's feelings. He knew he should take care of his family. But he didn't have much say in Nuxor anyway. No was seriously torn. Dilly's had at least spent a few years navigating human society. No thought he was hiding it well. But Dilly saw right through him. She didn't want to deal with No at first. But after thinking it over, she suddenly got an idea. Maybe she could make No a bit stronger. Get him a small position in the tribe or something. Then she'd be connected to, right? Ha ha. So Dilly's, with her little scheme, called Tylos aside. Tylos, I have an idea. Tylos nodded. So fast. Dilly's even wondered if the guy was actually listening to what she was saying. He had that total whatever my mate says goes love-struck vibe. Oh well. A love-struck guy is easier to convince. Not a bad deal. Dilly's continued. You remember when the chief attacked me with his mental power, right? Tylos's eyes turned into slits. He flicked his tongue and nodded. We've joined the Nuxor tribe now. I honestly think it's a good tribe. And I really want to stay. But I keep getting the feeling that the chief isn't friendly to me. And he shares a mate, Dlee, with the wolf chief. Dlee is a leopard with purple stripes. She's probably high up in the leopard tribe too. So altogether, the chief has a lot of power. Tylos paused for a moment, as if thinking, then nodded. Just in case. You know what I mean. Among the three of us, only No really knows the tribe rules. I think. It's way too hard for Dillies to say something like that. It feels like using the wife's money to spoil the mistress. She hesitated, but Tylos just nodded. I didn't even say it yet. Dillies was shocked. She looked into his eyes, hoping to see something else. But there was nothing. Tylos's eyes were as calm as ever. Dillies only saw herself in them. His eyes were too pure. So in his eyes, she was the purest and most flawless. Dillies quietly covered her pounding heart. Tylos patted Dillies on the head. Little snake, you're clever. I'm fine with anything. Her. Dillies rubbed her hands together eagerly. Can you give all your yellow crystals to No so he can level up to purple? Tylos pulled his hand back instantly. He turned and walked away. Fine, you don't have to give them. You can help him level up to purple instead. Tylos kept walking. Dillies chased after him. Tylos pushed her away with his snake tail. He kept going. Dillies chased after him again. Tylos pushed her away with his snake tail again. No deal. But what if I get bullied in the tribe by some? The chief's mate? You can't just beat up the chief. I'll protect you. But sometimes violence doesn't solve everything. I'll be White Stripe soon. Dillies was speechless. Can't reason with him. Dillies was furious. HMPH. Forget you. I'll help No level up myself. So Tylos quickly agreed. Dillies smirked and sighed, like she'd found his weak spot. Back at the female resting area, the wolf chief and Rachel were there too. A few females were gathered around them talking. When they saw Dillies return, Rachel wanted to come over. But seeing Tylos, he pulled back. Dillies asked No, what's wrong? No had been listening nearby, because he knew some secrets about plants. He said, a few beastmen have gone missing. The chief sent a team to look for them. And then a female suddenly screamed. Dillies instinctively looked over. The female was half covering the leopard beast mark on her belly. The mark was slowly fading away. A beast mark fading means the mate is dead. Then a few more females screamed. Their beast marks were fading too. The fading marks belonged to the beastmen who went missing today. Death was something Dillies could have predicted. But why did they die only now? Those beastmen went missing a while ago. The wolf chief sent another team to search. Dillies wanted to warn them not to go alone. But afraid of being exposed, she kept quiet. Kino opened his mouth like he wanted to say something. Then he glanced at Dillies. In the end, he said nothing. Dillies patted Kino on the shoulder. No, I don't want you to sell yourself short. Go do what you love. Kino couldn't believe his ears. Dillies smiled. Her big eyes curved into crescents. She looked at Kino with full attention. The burly man, over 6 feet tall, was acting like a nervous kid, looking around awkwardly. Finally, from his fluffy white hair to trembling white ears popped out. Dillies, just call me Cece. Tylos's snake tail started twitching again. Dillies quickly added, but you can't call me Little Snake. Little Snake is Tylos's special name. Tylos's snake tail was wagging happily. Kino took a few quick breaths. His bronze face, along with his ears, turned a dark red. Cece. Dillies looked at him gently. Kino couldn't hold back anymore. He hugged Dillies tightly. Thank you. I won't let you down. Go on. Kino joined the search party for the missing beastmen. He went with the team to find their bodies. Sometimes Dillies called herself shameless. But after that, she still did what she had to do. The law of the beast world. The strong rule. Survival comes first. To survive, she would even eat her own brother. What wouldn't she do to survive? Heck, Kino, to get me in as a VIP, you better step it up. They searched until afternoon when it was time to move on. That's when the missing beastmen's bodies were brought back. Kino and the others went to the sweet fruit grove first. There, they found several dried up bodies, hanging from trees by vines. It looked like they had been drained of blood alive. The dead beastmen all had mates, but the single beastmen were nowhere to be found. Not even their bodies. The widowed females stared at their mates' bodies, too scared to get close. They cried from a distance, holding onto their other mates. Of course, some didn't cry. But none of that mattered to Dillies. She was more worried about her own hunger. Plus, she hadn't stretched her legs in days. Dillies was itching for action. She called Tylos and Kino to go hunting. But Rachel stopped her. Dillies, it's dangerous out there. Females can't go out. This wasn't the first time Rachel had stopped her. Almost every time Dillies went out to explore, Rachel would block her like this. Dillies was fed up. Even though she knew Rachel was just keeping tribal order. But as the sacred female, she had a huge appetite. To hide how much she ate, she didn't dare eat much in front of the tribe. So hungry, she really needed to sneak out and get some food. My mates are strong. They'll protect me. I'm sure you've heard about the Beastman going missing lately. Dillies, it's dangerous out there. Even the males can't protect themselves, let alone a female. I suggest you stay in the cave. She couldn't explain it to Rachel. Better to just let her be a stubborn female. Dillies just gave Rachel a cold look and walked past her, quickly running out of the cave. Tylos and No silently followed. Females really shouldn't come out unless they have to. But Dillies, this little female, was especially stubborn. Can't talk her out of it. No way at all. The three of them quickly spotted a fierce beast. With No and Tylos there, Dillies barely had to do anything. They took down the fierce beast in no time. No handed the beast crystal to Dillies. Wait! Dillies suddenly noticed something. If No and Tylos hunt together, Dillies glanced guiltily at Tylos. Seeing his expression was normal, she tentatively handed the beast crystal to No. Tylos turned his head slightly. His tail stiff. Out of sight, out of mind. No. His heart ached a little. Tylos simply closed his eyes. Dillies smiled. She fed the beast crystal into No's mouth. No was a bit shocked. His round tiger eyes stared at Dillies in a daze. For a moment, he didn't understand what Dillies meant. Dillies chuckled. No. Your level is a bit low for the Nuxer tribe. Plus, we've run into so much danger lately. I want you to be able to protect yourself more. But No wasn't as touched as Dillies expected. The white tiger's head drooped slightly. His tail nearly dragged on the ground. No spat out the beast crystal. Dillies insisted on giving it to him. No shook his head. Half-beast form. Cece, thank you. But a male's strength has to be earned on his own. Don't worry. I'll reach purple stripes soon. With that, No shifted into his beast form. He let out a roar at the sky and charged out. Dillies blinked. She had thought Tylos might refuse, but she never expected No to be the one to reject himself. She turned around. Tylos was still in his beast form, resting his head on his snake tail, watching Dillies with an amused look. Dillies' brain short-circuited. She held out the beast crystal to him. Then you eat it. Tylos swatted the beast crystal away with his tail. It flew into the grass and disappeared. Hey! That's so wasteful. That was a green-striped one. Dillies quickly went into the grass to look for the beast crystal. But Tylos wrapped her up with his snake tail again. His upper body shifted into human form. He said coolly, "Dirty. Don't eat it. I'll just wash it off. A little dirt is fine." Dillies struggled to get down. But then Tylos said, "No. Dirty." Dillies was totally confused. Why was this guy so jealous? To stay safe, Kino hunted within Tylos' sensing range. Beastman above purple striped level can sense a certain area. It doesn't use the senses. It's more like a spider sense kind of thing. Right then, Dillies was studying the plants on the ground. So before long, Dillies had learned quite a few types of grass. Most were plants that herbivores eat. And she'd seen some females eat this stuff. The looks on their faces were so intense. So Dillies put on a serious expression. She solemnly put the grass in her mouth. 1 second. 2 seconds. Dillies' face slowly turned awful. Her eyes uncontrollably rolled back. Intense. Really intense. But the next second, she gathered her strength and spat the grass far away. Then she shifted into her beast form and rolled around wildly on the ground. Hot, 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 hot. The little holy female had only tasted one herb. It was so spicy she shifted into her beast form and rolled on the ground. Dillies slapped the ground, making a pattering sound. Tylos was startled. He scooped up Dillies with his snake tail, planning to make her throw up snake style. But before he could act, Dillies stiffened up like a snake stick and lay on the ground without moving. Tylos' eyes widened in shock. He looked at Dillies, then at the beast marks on his own body. Good. Dillies was still alive. Tylos flicked his snake tongue, carefully poked Dillies with his claw. Dillies still didn't move. Just then, No came running over happily, with chicken feathers on his head and carrying a nest of eggs. He called out, "Cece." When Dillies didn't answer, he was startled. He looked down at the beast marks on his own body. Good. Della's was still alive. The two males exchanged a silent look. Then both turned to look at Della's. Tylos extended his snake tail and lifted the snake stick Della's. Della's instantly went limp again. She opened her snake mouth, flicking her tongue as she shifted back to human form, along with a vivid ugh. This grass, Tylos understood. With a sweep of his big tail, all the grass on the rock was gone. Not bad. Della's turned around and stared at the empty rock, deep in thought. Tylos kept a cool expression, but his eyes darted to the side a few times. Della's took a deep breath. It's okay. I'll just pick a little more. But as soon as she found new ones, Tylos swiped them away again when she wasn't looking. Della's got so mad she climbed on Tylos and yanked his hair. Through gritted teeth. No throwing, no throwing. You hear me, Tylos? Tylos didn't give in. Eat it. It'll make you sick. That's spicy. Spicy is uncomfortable. So Della's called no over and gave both beasts a little lesson on seasoning. She decided that when they went back to roast meat, she'd test out this herb's power, since neither beastmen nor females liked it. This herb had no name. Della's just named it spicy grass. The spicy grass wasn't just hot. It was a bit like wasabi, but not as intense. It also had a fruity sourness. Overall, it was pretty appetizing. But since Della's hadn't had anything spicy in 2 years, her first bite almost made her brain short-circuit. Still, after tasting it carefully, it was kind of addictive. Della's quickly picked a bunch of spicy grass and stuffed it into Tylos's reverse scale. Then No finally got to show off his eggs. These eggs were from the fierce beast No had been chasing. She didn't get how a chicken could be a fierce beast these days. But thanks to that giant chicken, these eggs were huge. Each one was as big as Della's head. Della's gladly took the whole batch of eggs and hurried No along before the sun fully rose. Go kill a few more fierce beasts to level up. Della's used the time to try more herbs. The second one tasted sour and rotten, like leftovers that had gone bad days ago. Della's almost actually threw up. The third herb wasn't edible, but its roots were thick. Della's squeezed out some green juice and tasted it. It was a little sweet, kind of like matcha, but only a little. The overall flavor was very mild, good for snacking on when bored. Della's named it matcha grass, but the grass spoiled easily. Tylos's reverse scale wasn't good for storage. Della's only picked a few stalks to try. With the noble spirit of Shenong tasting herbs, she tried every herb she'd never seen or eaten. After several rounds of twisting, crawling, and rolling, she only found spicy grass as a seasoning plant. But finding even one was enough for her. The sun climbed higher. Della started to sweat. She called No back. No came running back covered in blood. In his mouth was the wild chicken he'd been chasing. On his back was a fierce beast evolved from a deer. Those two beasts were barely enough for Della's and the two beasts to eat for one meal. Dilly's asked No. Any more? No nodded and pointed in a direction. Tylos went to get the rest of the prey. All fierce beasts, since No and Tylos's hands and bodies were full of prey. Della's walked back with them to meet up with the other hunting beastmen. Della's used snake skin to make a rope and tied to prey onto No's back. No carried one more in his mouth. Tylos dragged a huge prey with one hand and carried 3 bags of giant eggs with the other. The bags for the giant eggs were the snakeskin shoulder bags Della's made. When it was Della's turn, there was nothing left for her to carry. To not feel left out, Della's took 1 bag of giant eggs from Tylos. There were plenty of prey nearby, but most were fierce beasts. Regular animals were hard to come by. Yet this was just the foot of the mountain, still a ways from the deep woods. That made the beastmen suspicious. But when you might not even have enough to eat, that doubt didn't matter much. Della's rejoined the main group. Almost every beastman was loaded with fierce beast prey. It looked like a lot, but it was just enough for one meal for the whole team. That meant when they set out at night, the beastmen would have to hunt again. Next, it was time to head back. Since the beastmen's hands were full of food, there was no free beastmen to carry Della's. The squad leader was a bit troubled. Della said it was fine. I can run fast. Just go ahead. I'll keep up. The squad leader was skeptical. No spoke up for Della's. Captain, we'll take care of our own mate. Just run full speed back to the cave, since the male said so. The squad leader didn't argue anymore. He gave the order, and the beastmen started running back. Lore had prey on his back and under his claws, but he could still squeeze Della's in. Lore landed. Dillies. I'll take you back. There's room on my back. Enough for you to sit. Even though Lore was careful, the wind from his wings was still strong. Della's got a mouthful of leaves. Della spat them out and quickly waved her hand to say it was fine. Most of the beastmen had already run off, and Della's and the others were at the back of the group, too lazy to explain much. Della's decided to show them she could keep up by action, so she hugged her small bag and ran at full speed. Her human form was naturally slower than her snake form, but snake beasts were agile creatures, even if her speed dropped a lot in human form. To keep up with the beastmen's group, Della's speed was still more than enough, but she didn't try to stand out, just quietly followed at the back. The beastmen at the back couldn't help glancing at Della's. They had never seen a snake tribe female before. Could snake tribe females really run this fast? Tylos and No followed behind Della's to cover her. When they saw beastmen staring at Della's, Tylos threateningly flicked out his tongue. The beastmen didn't dare look anymore. Finally back at the cave, whether from running or the sun, Della's face was flushed red. Sweat with a female's scent ran down her cheeks, dripping drop by drop onto the cave floor. Many beastmen curiously looked over. Some beastmen told how Della's had run back with the group. This caused whispers among the beastmen. An outgoing beastman walked right up to praise Della's. Dillies, you're the fastest female I've ever seen. You're just as fast as the males. How is that possible, even if you hunt with your mates all the time? It's hard to be that fast. Right then, Della's was pulling giant eggs out of her bulging bag. Without flinching, she answered, "Eat more. And train more." With Della's permission, Kino kept just enough for the three of them for one meal. He gave the rest to the group. As Kino put it, this was to buy the group's silence with prey. The wolf chief didn't agree with females going out. He was worried they'd get hurt. But Della's insisted on leaving, which could set a bad example for the group. To avoid bad rumors in the group, and to stop other females from copying her, Kino gave away prey, to show the chief that his mate wouldn't slow down the male's hunt. After all, even with his mate along, Kino and Tylos's catch was way above the group's average. This gave the chief an idea. To keep other females from copying Della's, the wolf chief just announced that if a female left the group's safe zone, her male had to hand over to prey as payment, and the group wouldn't be responsible if she got hurt. No one argued with the wolf chief's decision. Breakfast started. Kino was still the one cooking for the family, but today was a little different. "We have eggs today." Della's thought back to modern cooking methods. She dug a hole in their cooking area, put the eggs inside, then lined the hole with stones, added branches and dry grass, then lit a fire. Kino prepped the meat, skewered it, and started roasting. Della's got spicy herbs from Tylos's scales. Kino carved a stone bowl for her and ground another stone into a pestle. Della's crushed the spicy herbs into juice herself. She spread a little on her portion of meat. Soon the spicy herb smell drifted out. Everyone around, including Della's, couldn't help sneezing. Tylos was the first to run out. Della's found it harsh too, but she was harsh and happy. The roast was finally done. Della's called Tylos to eat. Tylos didn't move. The spicy herb smell was still strong at the cave entrance. Especially after being roasted, the smell was so strong that Tylos, with his sensitive nose, questioned his existence. Tylos would rather get sunburned than go back inside and choke. Della's stomach growled. She gave up on Tylos. She picked up her spicy herb meat. Just as she was about to take a bite, she pulled back because it was too hot. Snake beastmen are great, except for one thing. They hate heat and can't stand hot food. But Della's was desperate. Who could understand how badly she wanted to taste that spicy roast? The smell suddenly reminded Della's of spicy hot pot. Why do women love spicy hot pot so much? Because it's numbing, spicy, and hot. But Della's can't eat hot food right now. She can only eat warm spicy. It's so painful. Della's took the roast to the cave entrance, making Telos instantly slither several feet away. He even buried his head in the grass. That dramatic. Della's waved the stick with the roast, trying to cool it down faster. It finally cooled down. Della's took a bite right away. The sour and spicy flavor was perfect. This is the life. Della's eyes turned red from the spice. She chewed, moved to tears by the spicy roast. Della's suddenly paused. With a sly grin, she bit off a piece of roast and ran over to Telos. "Tylos, look at my mouth." Telos pulled his snake head. out of the grass and looked at Delis. This was Delis's first time eating spicy food in her snake life. Her mouth was already bright red from the spice. Telos didn't understand why Delis's mouth was suddenly so red. He curiously leaned in to look. Suddenly, Delis kissed him on the mouth, pushing the roast from her mouth into his. Telos was startled at first. His eyes instantly turned into slits, as if he finally realized he'd eaten spicy grass. He quickly spat out the roast, flicking his tongue. His snake head bobbed hard as if coughing. Delis grinned, laughing really hard. Snake beastmen are born with a lack of facial nerves. So Delis always has a kind of half-smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. To Telos, that look seemed full of mockery. So the proud Telos got mad, took spicy grass from his reverse scale, and chewed it right in front of Delis. Delis thought he was trying to prove himself. She was about to ask about his taste buds, when Telos suddenly grabbed her head and fed her the spicy grass from his mouth.